Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free right now. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed. My name is James Petrogal. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Are we excited or what today?
Yes.
As always, hope you guys enjoyed our extra long, extra special, extra insane episode last week.
What the shit?
On Riddick Bowe. Such a big guy like that, he needed a big episode. You know what I mean?
More than that, he kept it going after the episode.
Oh, yeah,
the
he's
man
still
is,
going. He's still
nuts.
going on Twitter. He's trying to
out of his mind.
Sell you fantasy
he
football.
He will grift money from you in a second.
That's what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Update on Riddick Bowe. He's grifting. If you follow him on Twitter, he will DM you and try to sell you fantasy football.
Instantly.
Yeah, it's like a bot thing. It's
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
At first, I thought he was angry with us and that he heard the show.
Yeah.
And then when I responded back and he's like, when are we playing? And I'm like, playing what? And he's
what
like,
are you talking
go
about?
to the app. They're giving away $1 million. I'm like, is this motherfucker hacked? What just
what
happened?
Is he doing? Is he selling me shit?
Did he click on a porn site and they're trying to get me to...
Apparently
and then you
so.
click on the app and it's a fucking fantasy football app. Yeah, I was dumb enough to click on it. I could have been
you
fished.
got to know what he's trying to sell
That's
you.
what he's
That's
selling.
Just out of curiosity.
It's ridiculous.
What is this idiot trying to sell us?
And at first you think, like, this is fake. This is absolutely fake. But he signs everything to you.
Bo.
Everything is signed Bo.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I don't know if they have a bunch of templates and they automatically go out or what the deal is, but it's a messed up
check mark
operation over there.
fucking,
He's verified.
Verified
he's
account.
Verified. He's got 500,000 followers or
It's
some shit.
definitely that dickbag grifting.
It is. He'll post videos of himself and everything.
Oh, and then he told me, get in it. I won $400 last week.
Yeah.
It's just like, how low have you fallen that $400 is enticing?
You shouldn't be bragging over about $400 at this point in your life. She's going, I don't need that shit. Fantasy football,
like,
I'm relaxing.
I got enough to pay for my Hyundai last month.
Man.
Oh, boy. You have fallen
his big
far,
ass into a
sir.
Hyundai. That's the saddest thing. I'm 6'4", so I can relate to this in height-wise. There's nothing sadder than like a 6'7" guy who did nothing with his height, so now he has to fold himself into a fucking Hyundai Elantra every time he wants to go somewhere. There's nothing sadder than that.
And a 200-mile drive to that man is torture.
He's huge now, too. He's gotten hefty.
Over 300 pounds.
Thank you guys so much for your iTunes reviews this week. You really, really killed it for us. We appreciate it so much. Honestly, guys, that drives us up the charts. It helps so much on the business end.
The support this week was bananas.
It's been amazing, and we can't thank you guys enough, and we have a long list of people to thank later. But iTunes reviews, if you have not done it yet, please get on iTunes. Please give us 5 stars.
Yeah.
That helps a lot. Like we said, drives us up the charts like nobody's business. Just say anything you want. Say you're following instructions, following directions. It doesn't matter. It's not for our ego.
Right.
It is a business thing. We don't need to be a love letter or anything like that. If that's not enough for you, if you're one of these fantastic people like we've had so many of this week that want to help us out, you can do that specially by going to patreon.com/crime in sports, the title of this show. That's pretty easy. Patreon.com/crime in sports. And if you want to make a one-time donation, that's possible too.
Yes.
You just go to PayPal. You can use our email address, which is crimeinsports@gmail.com. And you can make a one-time donation there. And there will never be 2 more appreciative people on the face of the earth for every dime we receive.
If you find them, tell them to come talk to me because I'll out-humble them.
That's right, because you don't have to do it. Right. That's why. You don't have to. It's 1,000% voluntary. Right. We don't say, hey, what the fuck, you guys aren't paying us enough. Nope. We're not like that. Nope. We're thankful for every dime.
You don't see me ever behave like that, ever.
Thank you guys a million times over. We really appreciate it. And with that all out of the way, house cleaning, Riddick Bowe. Let's get into today's especially crazy episode. I mean, this is we've had some wacky ones.
Yeah.
This one is out there.
Those brain damage sports bring you some really wacky
And
ones.
we got some brain damage, mental illness, and drug abuse all wrapped up into one. As you know, that's going to be a party.
That's somebody breaking the law.
And he has done something that no one on our show has done before.
What?
We have a first time. We have a first time today.
First time offender
for
for a
everything.
specific
not a
thing?
crime.
Okay.
Something that happened to him never happened to anybody else before in the crime realm.
Okay.
Hard to explain now, but
All
you'll
right.
get it in a little while. Let's get into it with Barret Robbins.
Don't know him.
You know him actually.
Do I?
Barret Glenn Robbins. He was the center for the Raiders that disappeared for the Super Bowl.
Oh, shit.
We all remember that.
Okay.
We'll get into that later, but that's how we all remember him as. If you watched the Super Bowl in 2003, the 2002 season, before the game, they're like, the starting center for the Raiders is
Nowhere
gone.
to be found.
We have no idea where he is. He might be dead. We don't know.
Maybe it's
Who
his
the fuck
fault they
knows?
lost.
Who the hell knows? Yeah, he's the starting center. That's, they have a lot of coverages to pick up and to call and things like
They have a
that.
big fucking responsibility.
Oh, it's huge. It's a huge
the center
responsibility.
is almost as important as the
That's
quarterback.
the captain of the offensive
Right.
line. You got your middle linebacker for the D.
Everything starts based on that
your
man's
center,
movement.
your quarterback, absolutely. So that's a big deal, and he was doing really well that year. But let's go back further.
Okay.
Back to his birth.
Oh.
August 25th, 1973.
Yeah.
He grows up to be a big dude. He is in his playing days.
As a center is.
6'3", 320.
Holy fuck.
Big, tough man. Not a ton known about his childhood. Everybody just said he seemed to have a nice childhood.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. His mother died early. That was something.
That's a
Not
bummer.
early, but when
he was young.
When he was, I think, a teenager or something
That's
like
brutal.
that. So he ends up going to Sharpstown High School in Houston, Texas.
All right.
This high school, he plays football there, obviously. And I looked up some Sharpstown High School, Houston, Texas, try to figure something out about that. Maybe that's a clue. And I found actually a crazy thing here. On June 2nd, 1988, when he was actually in the school, he actually went to the school at this point.
Right.
There was it's the final day of school, last day of school, June 2nd, 1988 at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
So, you figure that's a last day of school. Everybody's usually happy.
You're fucking off.
Oh, everybody's happy. People are thrilled. Apparently, three black kids attacked a white football player in class, an algebra class, for some beef they had beforehand. And
this
whatever.
is the last day of school.
This is the last day of
to settle it.
school, and the fight grew into 100 participants. It turned into
Holy shit.
a giant riot with 400 or 500 more kids watching
High
it.
school kids.
And it's just a race riot.
Yeah.
It's a straight white kids fighting black kids race riot,
Unbelievable.
which is insane in 1988.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Texas. I don't live in Texas. I don't
Yeah.
know, but maybe that's common. I have no idea how many race wars you have in your school.
I mean,
I've never had one in my school, so I don't know. We didn't
when
have
I
any
was
race
in
wars.
high
We had
school-
stabbings, but not race wars.
From 96 to 99, I lived in a very upper middle class white neighborhood, and there was probably, 30 or 40 black kids at the school. And the white kids, you would hear people say the N-word
Really?
openly. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And not just the black kids saying it. Like the white kids would say it about black people. It was bananas.
Wow.
I grew up in a weird time,
I grew up in New
guess.
York. That shit would have got you killed quickly.
Yeah.
You knew that's not okay.
In a
Hey,
fairly
calm down.
affluent neighborhood. That's
wow. They get a little.
It's a bit of white privilege.
Jesus, I would say they get a little.
They knew they were going to get away
you
with
feeling
it.
strong, I guess. Like it's one of
My
those.
point is,
Wow.
in Texas, and 8 years earlier, I imagine it was pretty common for those words to be thrown around.
It was.
And eventually, it's going to get you hurt.
Well, this caused this huge riot. 16 police cars and a helicopter
What
were dispatched to the
the fuck?
school because there's 100 kids fighting. You need a
helicopter.
shitload of people to break that up. You don't know what's going on. I guess something to get the overhead so you can see, and then you got to surround them. It's crazy, man. They did the whole thing. Only two students were hospitalized out of that, which is crazy. They had to close down the street.
Yeah.
The funny thing is the main kid who instigated the whole thing is a former student who was expelled the year before.
Oh, it's always those kids.
Yeah, he came back and him and two other people. They had they had a stick with nails in it.
What the fuck?
And a chain.
No.
Looking for apparently. A white football player beat up two black kids a month earlier.
Okay, so you bring boards with nails?
So it's turned into just a race war, an all-out race war in high school. Which is,
Jesus.
these kids are 17. Relax.
That's nuts.
the poor algebra teacher was in class, and I guess they have a panic button there, which I didn't know that happened in school. Cool. In '88, they had panic buttons in school, and I guess she was pressing the panic button, and they were turned off. So she sent a student to go tell them there's a riot. Go run.
Send word forth.
Yeah,
there's a problem.
There's a big fucking problem. So he gets through all this, doesn't get bogged down in any race rioting or anything like that.
I don't know. Fight?
I don't know if he was involved in that. Okay. They didn't release names of kids. He was 14, 15 at the time. So we don't know what kids did what or anything like that. But it was white football players versus the black kids. So he was a white football player.
Probably threw a punch or two.
Might have been in the melee. It's possible. That's why I wouldn't even have brought it up if it wasn't the football team that was involved, which he was a part of.
That's nuts.
So he ends up going to TCU.
Really?
He chooses TCU as his college, the Texas Christian University.
It's a good school.
Texas Christian.
Yeah.
That's how I always hear. If I ever see TCU, I just hear Texas Christian, because that's how people say it. The Horned Frogs, if you're not from the U.S., that is their name.
What a horrible.
Horned Frogs, yes.
I've never seen
mascot.
A horned frog before. I'm sure it exists.
Who chose that mascot? That's vicious.
Yeah.
They're going to be scared when they see that shit on
our
helmets.
It's got horns on it.
Boy.
It's a devil frog.
It's a devil frog.
You get a Christian school and you got a devil frog as your fucking...
And then on top of that, they had to have somebody make that costume for the mascot. Or how do we make a human frog thing?
Where are the horns on this damn thing?
What the hell do we do here? So he goes to TCU.
Yeah.
His first year is under Pat Sullivan, who was a TCU coach for a long time and was I think he had 3 winning seasons in 10 years. He was awful.
Did he go anywhere else?
Pat Sullivan, not as a head coach.
Okay.
I saw as a head coach, he was only TCU. It was a 10-year stretch, and he had 2 winning seasons, and they weren't even he had a 10-0 season.
Right.
He had he was
7-3.
He was 6-5 this year. Wow, big deal. And his last year he was 1-10 when he got shit canned at the end. So not great. In '92, it's not great either. He is 2-8-1. That is
and that's
TCU.
When he was there?
That's Barrett's there.
Wow.
He's playing at that point. We don't have stats on Barret because he's a center.
Right.
He's an offensive lineman. So
he blocked some people that year.
He blocked
a shitload of them.
Once we get into the NFL, we'll talk about how his quarterback did, because I feel like that's if the quarterback shit, it doesn't matter how the center is, but the center helps the quarterback.
Right.
So we're gonna do it that way. Right. We're gonna have, just to have a stat for something.
And it was
we'll get into all the quarterbacks. We'll get into all the quarterbacks because they're pretty comedic. There's some funny shit in the quarterbacks. Oh yeah, till Rich Gannon comes along.
Yeah, that's who it was.
It was bad times for that.
I wish. So who was the quarterback when Gannon? Did Gannon go out and somebody else came in after him? That Gannon was in a wheelchair or some shit?
Gannon was in a wheelchair at the end?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Shit, I don't remember now.
I got booed in a bar for
cheering his wheelchair bound
for wishing somebody else to be put in a wheelchair sat right next to him.
Well, that's all right though.
Loudly, I was drunk. I was very loud, and I just wanted to see an injury. That's what I
was looking for. So what happens when you get drunk? You want to see injuries.
I wanted to see a compound fracture.
Jimmy's out just hammered, looking for injuries,
praying for plane crashes and all that shit.
Sticking his heads in people's doors. Anybody injured in here? No. Okay, and just leaving. Okay.
Just if they were black and silver. And at that point in my life, I didn't even give a fuck about the Chiefs or Chargers. It was just so much hatred focused right on the Raiders.
Broncos fan, it's understandable. 1993 TCU team, a little better, but again, not terrific. 4-7.
Okay,
not great.
Tacked on another win.
And if you look at this is dark days too. And you look at all the scores, it's God, this is sad.
Yeah,
this is just these look like shit, boring games, and just in the Texas,
it probably were
so bad,
bad. Texas,
just awful on turf.
Watching your team get the shit kicked out of them.
Awful, man.
The worst.
1994 TCU, shit gets better.
Yeah,
it gets a little bit better. They're 7-5 that year.
That's good.
That's a damn powerhouse compared to what they've been. This is Coach Pat Sullivan's best season as a coach. It really is. They go all the way to the Independence Bowl. They go to a bowl that year.
They got a bowl at 7-5.
7-5. Yeah, there's 85 bowls. You got to take what you can get. Winning record, jump on board.
But the Independence, isn't that a good one?
No, it's not.
That's not a good one.
Back then, it was the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl. Mind. So that's not a good bowl. No,
you got a bowl that's sponsored by fucking lawn equipment.
If if your bowl is sponsored by anything that is currently found in your shed, that's not a good bowl. I'll just say that now. That's the rule we can
Here's
go
a Roundup
by.
bowl.
They have it.
Do they get out of here?
Absolutely have the Roundup bowl, 100%.
That lets you know how much of that shit is being sold.
It's awful.
Here's a
There's
Toro
so many
leaf blower bowl.
There's a Toro something
there
bowl.
Is one.
Yeah, it's you name a product, there's a goddamn bowl for it, especially if it has anything to do with a lawn or a yard, or there's a Scott's Turf Builder bowl.
I was just going to say, there is, because there's turf,
I think there is.
Of course.
Yeah. You know it.
There's
the
the Scott's.
Turf is in there. So sad. So sad.
There's their weed and feed bowl. Jesus.
I could see that. Yeah. That's not everyone can be the sugar bowl.
Yeah.
So
not everybody gets to be the Tostitos Fiesta bowl. That's
right.
fucking amazing.
The Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl.
Awful.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
They play Virginia in that game, and they lose 20-10. So can't quite get anything going.
Yeah.
But during that season, it's a good season for TCU. Barret has a couple of bumps in the road, we'll say, that year. In 1994, while he's at school during the season, he's found disoriented, wandering around an auto dealership parking lot.
Uh-oh.
Just wandering.
Drunk?
Just
Beaten?
No, just disoriented.
Just like he's sleepwalking?
He just didn't know what was going on.
What the fuck?
He's wandering around a parking lot. They ask him, what are you doing? And he doesn't know why he's there.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
He's just disoriented.
That's
like
weird.
They don't know what's going on, so they hospitalize him, obviously. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with Barret? He's losing his shit.
Why is this giant man wandering around a car dealership?
Imagine, like, what's he doing out there? Thinking, send Bob out, see if he wants to look at that SUV. No, he doesn't. He doesn't even know why he's here. Oh shit! Lock the doors. Lock the doors.
Shut
Stay
that
inside.
shit now.
Shut it down.
We're closed.
We're scared here.
Signs say closed.
Signs say closed. We go. You go. So he's hospitalized and eventually treated for depression. He's treated for depression, and we're going to find out that for a long time they think depression is his problem, and it's not.
No.
Partially, but it's not his problem 100%. But they still, that's his, it's treated for depression. The team's like, I guess he's okay.
Yeah.
He goes back out, and, they play in the Weed Eater Bowl, and that is what it is.
Yeah.
So he's a good center, though, in college. Like, he's touted as a very good center, and, that's how many good centers come out every year? They're not a lot.
Yeah.
So if you're a good center, you're going decent in the draft. So we go to April 22nd, 1995.
Yeah.
That is the NFL draft. It's held April 22nd, April 23rd. It's the Paramount Theater at Madison Square Garden, New York City. You know it, man. This was, by the way, the Raiders. This was the Raiders were going to be in 95 for the 95 season, relocated to Oakland.
Okay.
So this is their last season they're drafting for their last season in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So when they went from Oakland to L.A. and then back to Oakland again.
Yeah.
This is also a supplemental draft in this one because of Carolina and Jacksonville were expansion teams coming in that year. The Panthers, what they did is they had an expansion draft. The Jaguars got to pick first, and the Panthers got to pick second, and then they did the real draft. So they flip-flopped them.
Okay.
So that's the way it worked here. The Panthers, anyway, they end up trading their number one pick to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 5th overall pick and a 4th pick and a second-round pick. So that's good when you're building a team. You can do that. The Panthers, though, get stripped of 2 later picks for improperly recruiting Dom Capers as their head coach.
Really?
Yeah, they were doing some shady shit. He was Pittsburgh's defensive coordinator at the time, and they stole him. They did some tampering where they
That's
shouldn't
hilarious.
have. So they got fine draft picks. So it happens.
Did they end up getting Dom?
Dom Capers, yeah.
I didn't know he was,
Carolina.
all right, I didn't
yeah,
know
he ended
was
up
their
being their coach. Yeah, they got him.
He's now in Green Bay, right? I believe so.
Capers was Christ, he's been around so much.
I believe he's with Green Bay now.
Anyway,
coordinating.
This draft is the second time in NFL history that 2 Hall of Fame players are selected by the same team in the same round.
Really?
Is
The
that
first
amazing
time?
or what? That is incredible.
For who?
The other being the Bears in the 65 draft. I think they got, was it Butkus and Sayers in the first round, I want to say. These first 2, those picks in this one are Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks of the Tampa Bay Bucks, taken number 12 and number 28, respectively, overall.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. No, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. And this is back to, seeing a 95 draft is like, just takes me back so much to see these guys. And you go,
how many other Hall of Famers were in the first round?
In the first round, well, let's look. We have Kajana Carter was the number 1 overall pick, a shit running back from Penn State.
That's too bad.
I want to say he blew out his knee in like the second preseason game.
Fuck.
And he ended up coming back, but he was never the same.
Yeah.
It exploded. He was done. first or second preseason game.
Really?
It was, the number 1 overall pick. Jacksonville picked Tony Baselli, number 2nd, who I think was playing till 2 years ago. Still, literally, I think he was still playing, and he's a Hall of Famer. Houston, at the time, going to Tennessee later, the Tennessee Titans, they take Steve McNair at number 3.
Did I ever tell that story on here?
Which one?
So, Steve McNair, everybody knows what happened to him.
He got shot by his girlfriend.
By his mistress.
Yeah, by his,
So I live in a neighborhood in Phoenix where I'm in a gated community in way West Valley, and there's a park there. I'm playing with my kids at the park maybe 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, whatever. It doesn't matter. It was a few years ago is the point. Yeah. And a lady walks up with her child and is playing on the park as well. And the kid is about the same age as my son, and they're just playing, whatever. And I just casually am talking to the lady, and I told her my name is Jimmy, and I shook her hand, and she gave me her first and last name, which was the most strange thing. And I was like, "Are you Southern?" She was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "That's very proper to give like your first and last name." And I was like, "I'm Jimmy Wisman, by the way." And then she was like, "Oh." And then I stood there for a second, and then the name McNair rang in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, for whatever dumb fucking reason, I was just like, "Any relation to Steve?" And I went, "Haha," just like a giggle, like and
like she wouldn't. You were thinking she's not even going to know Steve McNair.
She's going to have no fucking idea. And she goes, "That's my brother-in-law." And I was like, "Well, I got to go. I'll see you.
I'll see you later." Okay.
I am not talking about this any longer.
Talk about that dead guy.
This is fucking awkward now. I am so sorry. It was her. I believe it's her husband's brother.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's so fucking horrible.
This tragedy touched you at the park.
My point is that foot and mouth disease did not begin at podcasting.
Too bad we weren't doing the show. You could have got some inside info that we don't have could have really researched it up good for you. Yeah. Could have given you a little recorder. You could have got me some info.
Can I ask you some questions, miss? I got a few.
Like 3 gunshot wounds? Right. What are you talking What are we looking at? So there's like pictures of the crime scene or anything just hanging out? Someone might have that on their phone.
Think it was an accident? Possibly. Ever? Yeah. How long were they fucking for?
God. That's horrible. Great. Carolina takes Kerry Collins as their big, future, whatever the fuck. He played
such a depressing
20
moment.
Damn years too. But a lot of guys, Kyle Brady, who played forever, J.J. Stokes, Warren Sapp. Yeah. This first round is filled with people. Napoleon Kaufman, the Raiders took. I love that little shit. Yeah. He was great in Game Day 97 on PlayStation.
He's so
Game
big
Day 98.
for his size.
He was, but he was so nasty. And
so fast, he could cut.
That Game Day 98, the Raiders had Jeff George at quarterback slinging that shit down the field to Tim Brown and him at running back. That was a great team to play with on that game for
his size. I meant he was short but stocky.
Oh, yeah.
That's my point.
He had a great story,
too. That sounded
too.
Stupid.
He had a great story, too. He had like 8 brothers and sisters.
Really?
And his parents died, and he took care of all of them.
How about
and from the time he was a kid, like some crazy-ass story. Yeah, he's a nice guy.
Successful fella.
Rashaan Salam, who was terrible. He's the Heisman Trophy winner from the year before, running back with the Bears, and he was awful. Yeah, not great. Derek Brooks taken. So there's some good people taken in the first round. But in the second round, pick number 49, the Oakland, soon to be Oakland, now Los Angeles Raiders take Barret. After taking Napoleon Kaufman in the first round. They could have had, with that pick, number 60 pick in that round, they could have had Cordell Stewart, which the Steelers took. Round 3, the Patriots take Curtis Martin, who's a Hall of Famer. And then all the way in round 6, a little guy you might have heard of named Terrell Davis.
How about that?
To the
Another
Broncos.
guy with a great story. His story is so fascinating.
And he's not in the Hall of Fame somehow, that guy.
He is now.
Now they finally put him in
good,
because that's ridiculous. He was great.
His brother went to prison. His brother was like his biggest fan, his biggest cheerleader. His brother went to prison the year he got drafted, and then got out the year that he fucking blew out his knee.
Oh my God, Jesus
Never
Christ.
got to see him play it down in his life.
That's terrible, man.
Fucking bummer.
That's hilarious.
His brother was his biggest fan. He was I guess a piece of shit because he went to prison, but
who knows?
Terrell wasn't. He got Denver 2 rings.
Who knows what happened?
I'm in.
Yeah, we're in here. So he goes to L.A. at the time. The 95 Raiders here. They're 8-8. Now quarterbacks. We'll get into how they did. Jeff Hostetler is the starting quarterback, if you remember Jeff Hostetler. Now, I love Jeff Hostetler because he came in, filled in for Phil Simms, and beat Buffalo in the Super Bowl with his mustache and his goofy face mask. God, he didn't have a quarterback body either. No. He's like very thin with big, stupid shoulder pads and a mustache, and a Wilford Brimley sitting right on his lip, and a goofy face mask. He was so goofy, but damn it, he was tough.
He looked like fucking Don Beebe behind under center.
He kind of did. Don Beebe with a big mustache. That's what he looked like. He started 11 games for him. Vince Evans started 3 games. You remember Vince Evans? Vince Evans was like a 43-year-old black guy they had for some reason. He was like 43 years old. It doesn't matter he's black, but he was like 43 years old.
Yeah.
And it was like, why is he out there? Why are you signing this guy? He was terrible, too.
Yeah.
That wasn't like, I don't know what it is, if he was friends with Al Davis or they just liked him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he like did some accounting on the side behind the scenes or what, but they kept him on there.
Al Davis, like trading places, had some bet with somebody. I bet you I can make that black guy starting quarterback.
Jeez. The one who's like 43?
Yeah.
No.
I'll bet you I can make him starting quarterback and ruin Jeff Hostel.
Yeah, take him. So that's what happened. So he does. Vince Evans starts 3 games, and then, 2 games started by one of the Billy Joes. Billy Joe Hobart it is this time. Do you remember
I remember the last name Hobart.
Mid-90s, there was 2 Billy Joes that played professional quarterback in America. It was Billy Joe Hobart and Billy Joe Tolliver.
It was a dark time for America.
It really was. Billy Joe Tolliver for the Chargers.
I remember that, yeah.
Billy Joe Hobart here. Barrett plays in all 16 games, starts none yet. He's a rookie.
In the same fucking conference.
In the same conference, man.
Jesus.
It's crazy. Yeah, right? Too many Billy Joe.
Too many Billy Joes in the AFC.
Billy Joe. So there might have been a Billy Joe versus Billy Joe game, which is disturbing in the 20th century.
That's hilarious.
That's the 20th century. 2 dudes named Billy Joe are taking. Wow. That's not a high school game in Alabama, for Christ's sake. He plays in 16 games, Barrett. Doesn't start any. He's all special teams because he's a rookie. So they're going to.
Long snapper?
Center's one of those teams. I'm not sure if he was long snapping or not, but center is one of that's very specialized.
Yeah.
Center's one of those things where you don't just throw a guy in. You want to make sure he can do it and learn the playbook and all that sort of thing. Like a quarterback.
Right.
You don't want just to throw the rookie in game 1.
To go from hike to guard is tough. Like
it is.
From actual movement of the ball.
Oh, God, to be able to snap it and get up.
Go straight up with your hands.
Man.
That's unbelievable.
And you know how a lot of the guys do it, the centers? Their goal to it is they snap and then they jump up with their head so they can lead with their head and make that initial blow because it takes them a while to get their hands up because it's on the ball.
Yeah.
So that's why you have like Mike Webster for the Steelers, who had complete pudding brain by the time he was 45 and died of it. And that's what we're going to find out with him also. Now, 1996 here. We'll get into the season in a second, but at one point Barrett is found disoriented, wandering around the team hotel.
Okay. Again with the disorientation.
Just wandering around the team hotel, didn't know what to do. He exhibited odd behavior. It was a road trip to Denver. They're in Denver. He's exhibiting odd behavior the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he was disoriented, wandering around the hotel, and they were like, should we do something about Barrett? And they were all kind of talking about it. And then what he ends up doing, and this is weird shit. Imagine you're this guy. There's a columnist there.
Yeah.
Just a writer. He follows the writer to the guy's hotel room and stands at his door staring off into space.
What?
Not even focused on the door,
What?
like he's like angry, just staring off into space like he's considering what condiment to eat the guy with. Like
Weird.
it is disturbing. Imagine looking out your peephole and seeing a 320-pound
Just
monster
counting the ceiling tiles.
disoriented, just looking around like Abdullah the Butcher or something. You'd be like, what the fuck is happening?
What is this shit?
What is happening? So they're a little concerned about him. And then later on, he misses his connecting flight home to Salt Lake City. Why the fuck are NFL teams making connecting flights, number
That's
one?
a good point.
They're not coming from Japan.
You guys all
You're
have
in Denver.
You should all be on the same flight,
Dude,
by the way.
I think Al Davis is cheap. I really think he was like, it's going to cost 10% less to stop in Salt Lake City. Those guys can fucking wait another hour. You know he said that
Denver
shit.
to L.A.
You know
and
it.
they're stopping in Salt Lake. It's like a 45-minute flight.
It's not even really on the way per se either. It's just kind of like it's like you're going New York to Chicago and you're going to stop in Baltimore. It's a
like
weird
a puddle jump.
It makes no
so
sense.
Quick.
It makes no sense.
It's like you go up, you go down, and then you got to fucking climb to fucking L.A.
So
That's
right away,
crazy.
it's not a charter flight.
No.
They got these
This
guys
is all coach.
flying fucking coach, stopping over in Salt Lake
This
City.
is economy shit.
Come on, guys, make sure. No, don't leave your carry-on bags. We're going to get back on the plane. Oh, my God. Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
Who's the team mom that has to go get everybody out of the duty-free shop to get them back on the fucking plane? Come on, guys, we're getting back on the plane. So he misses this flight home to Salt Lake City. He goes to a restaurant and orders a meal without having any money.
What?
Yeah, he has no money on him. He doesn't know where his stuff is.
Does nobody know this?
He'll get disoriented. At this point, they don't know this happened. They don't know about the thing in college,
He's not
really.
telling
They
anybody shit.
The thing in college, they might have said, oh, he had an incident, he was dehydrated or something, and then we put him in, he was fine after that.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know what I mean? And these teams, as we've seen, they look past a lot of shit. They'll rationalize a lot.
Especially then.
Especially in the 90s. But they're going to rationalize a lot to get a guy on the team. Like, but we can do that. At that point, he's sent to jail. He had, his wife, Marissa, we'll get into also plenty in this episode.
Fantastic.
This poor woman.
Yeah.
She's a saint, too, this
Yeah.
lady. She goes through a lot of shit.
Really?
A lot of shit, and she sticks with this guy for a while and tries to make it work.
ladies.
She comes to pick him up, and he doesn't even recognize her. He has trouble recognizing his own wife.
Oh, no.
That's how off the deep end he is mentally. He's hospitalized in the East Bay over there in Oakland for almost 2 weeks after this. They're just trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
This is like pre-dementia shit.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. He misses 2 games also that year because of this. What ends up happening is they end up saying that team officials come out and say that at the time it was a chemical imbalance triggered by the flu and an adverse reaction to medications.
Weird.
That's their excuse for him. He's fine. That's what I said. Like they might have, when he's wandering around the parking lot, they've been like, he's dehydrated. It's fine. That's what they say. Well, chemical imbalance because he had the flu and then the meds. We didn't give him the right meds.
NyQuil, and you ever taken NyQuil
It
and tried to
happens.
stay
You get
up?
a little
Sometimes
wacky.
it gets fucked up.
Sometimes you don't recognize your wife and you stalk columnists. It happens.
He
Who
took an
hasn't done that?
Ambien and didn't lay down. Have you ever done that
Yeah,
shit?
you can
That's
wander.
fucking crazy.
And you'll stare into space
Yeah,
outside of a columnist's
absolutely.
door. Yeah, that Ambien. That's a commercial for Ambien. Stare into space outside of a columnist's door.
I dare you to take it and try to stay awake. Do it.
That's how you do it. That's how you sell shit. You dare people to take it. I dare you to do this. I dare you.
Fucking do it.
So the Raiders that year, Barret starts 14 games. He misses 2 because of the hospitalization and all that. They're under coach Mike White here, who didn't. He was a shit coach, too. He does not last very long. They go 7-9 this year.
That's not great.
That's not great. And down from 8-8 last year. Hostetler is the starting quarterback. He throws 23 touchdowns and only 14 picks. So that's not bad.
Wait, 14 picks?
14 picks and
That's won a
23
game
touchdowns.
Almost. That's not great.
23 touchdowns, though, with that. It's not terrific, but it's not terrible.
Yeah.
That's a
the
7-9 team.
That's what I was going to say. That's
that
7
gets
and
you
9
7
numbers.
and 9
You bet.
right there. Because if you reverse it, it's about that.
Right.
And Billy Joe Hobart signs in a little bit. And they're so shitty that they even signed David Klingler to come in, and he plays one game.
Holy
the
shit.
former Cincinnati Bengal draft pick, and I think the 92 draft, who was just an utter human shit man. Like a snowman, but made of shit.
Made of poo.
Yeah. Kids balled up poo and just made David Klingler and stuck a football in his hand. And somebody drafted him in the first round.
And threw a helmet on it.
Throw a helmet on that shit man. He's going in the first round.
First round draft pick.
Hoo-wee.
That's Cincy, though.
Yeah, well, I was
Cincy
gonna
can
say,
really ruin a draft pick.
We know the Bengals, they know how to draft, boy. The Bengals can do one thing. It's draft, buddy. Especially quarterbacks.
You bet.
Oh, they don't have a long line
My
of embarrassments.
goodness, no.
Achilles Smith. Holy shit. Wow, are they terrible at drafting quarterbacks. They drafted Carson Palmer.
They did.
And he's decent.
He's
and they drafted Boomer Esiason.
That's all they've got.
20 years
Those
earlier.
are the two.
So that's it.
Those are the two that are halfway decent. Outside of that, it's go fuck yourself, Cincy.
Definitely. 97. By the way, there's a shitload of crime coming and some wild shit coming. So we'll be done with football very soon.
Great.
97 Raiders. The new coach Joe Bugle. So remember, the old Cardinal coach. But just looks like a sad old man.
An angry old man.
Who's been sitting at an outdoor bar for probably weeks,
and
drinking and being in the sun
and
being angry.
And every now and again, they forget his order, and he just sits there steaming.
He looks like the type
he got
of guy.
so red.
Oh, that's what I mean.
He was so red.
He looks like the type of guy who is playing a casual game of golf with a friend and throws his whole bag of clubs into the woods and says, fuck it, and leaves. And they're like, where did Joe go? Where did Joe go? He's gone. He's just driving away.
He has a red Corvette, and somehow his face is redder than his car.
It's true, man. He was that red. You're totally right.
He looked like a pig's dick.
Oh, dude, it was ridiculous. And also, his coaching skills were that of a pig's dick.
Yes.
Pig's dick could have coached the team possibly to a better than a 4-12 record,
Ouch.
which is what they had that year.
God.
Rock fucking bottom for the Raiders. Barret starts all 16 games, though.
Yeah.
He does fine. And Jeff George comes in to play quarterback. Jeff George is one of those guys who is known as like one of the biggest assholes in league history. He's University of Illinois, drafted by the Colts, I believe, number 1 overall, and was a complete disaster. Was a jerk to people, in addition to being terrible, but has one of the top 5 arms in the history of football. So he was the type of guy, he kept getting chances because you take him out and you talk to him and be like, God, that guy's a jerk. And then you go out on the field and you go, whoa, look at that ball.
How did he just throw that 70 yards? That's ridiculous.
He threw lasers. He had like not quite, but almost like a Dan Marino type arm where he threw these fucking
and it goes
laser
right where he wants
BBs.
it to be.
And he was great. If you could just get him to not be an asshole for 5 seconds. An arrogant guy. For a guy with the wispiest Kevin Costner hair I've ever seen in my life, he had a lot of confidence in him.
Maybe,
I swear
but
to God.
in the early 90s, that hair will get you that confidence.
He was like 26 years old, and he had half his hair, maybe, and he was confident. It's like, get the fuck out of here. You should be embarrassed.
So this is the time, too. You said 94 or 95?
This is 97.
97. Okay, so this is a team that their fan base are fucking dicks.
They're dicks, They're still dicks, but they're big dicks then.
It's because of this stretch of time, I believe.
Oh, they were assholes.
Their team was fucking amazing.
And then
through the late 70s,
early
early
90s.
Right, late 70s, early 80s, they were one of the best teams
I swear to
in
God,
football.
it was Todd Marinovich that's made him snap. It was Jay Schrader, Todd Marinovich.
Jay Schrader
it was that
did
time,
it.
like,
Yeah.
what are we fucking doing?
What the fuck? And then they stunk for
Pull
fucking
Jim
15
Plunkett
years.
off a recliner. I don't give a shit.
I
Get
don't give
Jay
a
Schrader's
shit.
blonde ass out of here. I swear that was it. By the way, we will do Todd Marinovich this football
Really?
season. I promise
Great.
you that. I have a lot of pre-research
I
done
love
on that. He's one of these ones that takes longer than a week to do.
Really?
He's like
Who
he's
was their wide
he's going to be a
receiver, too?
Riddick Bowe. Tim Brown.
No, the white one. He's a mean, salty fucking man.
Who are we
now.
talking about?
The Raiders wide receiver.
A white when in the 80s?
70s, 80s, yeah.
70s Bolitnikov.
Bolitnikov
was a nasty one.
He is fucking angry
Oh,
with
he
how
is.
old he is.
Oh, he is. He's not
I
happy.
met
He's
him
not
at
happy
the
at all.
Hall of Fame, and I just shouted, "How'd you catch all those balls?" And he turns around and goes, "With my hands." And I was like, Jesus
All right,
Christ,
then.
old man, calm down.
I think he was thinking you were bringing up the Stickum incident.
Oh,
with him.
maybe so.
I think he thought you were
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
with him
yeah,
with, the stick,
yeah.
with my hands, not the Stickum cunt face. I
maybe
think that's what he was going for.
That's
yeah.
hilarious.
That's what. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. 'Cause
All
he was
this time, you're like,
he's
what a
just-
dick.
What a dick.
You were being the dick. It was like, shit.
He's walking down a hallway, and
Yeah.
like he's walking towards me, and I think he noticed that I was kind of beelining towards him.
I'm sure.
And then he just made like a solid right, like a very quick right for a guy in his 70s. Made a quick right.
A
starts
professional
walking down
wide
the-
receiver kind of cut right there.
Yeah, he definitely did a down and out. And I just, because now he's walking away, and I'm not going to run after this
No.
fucking old man that's walking with handlers, by the way.
He's still going to turn around and beat you up,
Right.
probably. That's
So
the
I
other
just
thing.
shouted, "Hey, Fred, how'd you catch all those balls?" And he goes, "With my," like, the angriest with my
That's
hands
great.
ever.
He gave you a John Matuzik with my hands.
And I just stopped in my tracks and turned and walked the
Never
other
mind.
way. By the way, I had to go the other way because Boomer from, not Boomer Esiason, Boomer from fucking ESPN
Oh, God,
was
Chris Berman.
having a conversation with my girlfriend's tits at the time.
Oh,
was
Jesus.
staring directly at them and talking to her.
Ironically,
he
and-
was
and
loaded drunk.
Coincidentally, Chris Berman, better hair than Jeff George. That's the funny part. Better and more hair than Jeff George. That's amazing, isn't it? I'm telling you. So
Staring right at my girlfriend's tits.
He was hip hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
with a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Now back to the show.
So back to Jeff George here for quarterbacks. He, that year, starts all 16 games, throws 29 touchdowns, 9 picks.
Yeah.
That's nasty. That is, and he was so good in game day 98 on PlayStation. 9. 29 and 9.
That's respectable
that's
numbers.
3-to-1 ratio. That is top notch.
Go?
They were 4-12. He had, I want to say, almost 4,000 yards passing too, because that's all they could do was pass.
Yeah.
They had a terrible defense, and Jeff George was a complete asshole too. So it wasn't. He was just, I got mine. I got
but
my
he threw
numbers.
like 17 touchdowns in one game, and then
I got
a
my
few in
numbers.
the next, and
No,
that's it.
I got my numbers.
Yeah.
We'll lose fucking 41-31. Not my fault. I had 3 touchdowns today. I had 300 yards. Well, I look good. That's why it was hard for him to keep jobs.
All right.
98 Raiders, they get smart. They shit can red-faced Joe Bugle over here and take a hike back to the golf course with you, and they hired John Gruden.
Okay.
Smart move.
Yeah.
John Gruden was an up-and-comer, and he was like the next going to be hot coach.
Yeah.
And they ended up getting him. As we know, John Gruden is still an announcer, and
he's great.
And
he talks fucking weird. He says weird shit.
Yeah,
but he's a great announcer.
He hasn't coached in 10 years?
I think.
I want to say 10 years,
close.
And every single year he's the biggest candidate in coaching. Every season they're like, they're going to obviously offer
who
it to
lost
Gruden.
their coach? Somebody get Gruden.
Somebody
we need
get
him.
Gruden. They go 8-8 this year. They're rebuilding. That's fine. Barret Robbins again starts all 16 games. That's 2 years in a row. Solid over the center. If you don't have to worry about your center position, that's locked up. He's not getting. That's great.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Center, quarterback, all taken care of. We're great. Unfortunately, quarterback wasn't so taken care of this year.
Okay.
Gruden's trying to find a solution. Jeff George starts 7 games. Wade Wilson starts 3 games.
No.
The ex-Viking disaster of a quarterback.
No.
I hated Wade Wilson. He was so shitty. Was he number 12 on the Vikings? I want to say I hated him.
I can't remember
12.
numbers.
That wasn't 10 because that was Tarkenton. It was 12. Or maybe 11, actually. They also had Donald Hollis start 6 games.
By the way, isn't Wade Wilson, isn't that the name of Deadpool's character?
I don't know. I don't like comic book shit at all. So I'm not positive.
I'm going to Google it, but I'm pretty sure that's his name.
Donald, he's an awful quarterback. They named him after a terrible quarterback, which is not a great idea.
Wade, he would have been named after him, I believe.
So Donald Hollis starts 6 games.
It is Wade Wilson.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's hilarious.
They named him after that. Is there one named Donald Hollis? No?
I don't think so.
He started 6 games. Donald Hollis had 10 picks or 10 touchdowns, 16 picks in 6 games.
Ouch.
That is brutal, and it kind of shows, but it's kind of not his fault. He hadn't played in the NFL since 1994.
And they're throwing him in 5 years later and expect him to start?
Yeah, but I'm impressed he threw 10 touchdown passes in that amount of time, honestly. So that's a little bit of a rebuilding process. 1999, they go 8-8 again. 16 starts for Barret Robbins again. So that's 3 years in a row that he started every goddamn game. Mm-hmm. That guy is money. He's solid in the middle. Barret is a rock right now.
Yeah.
He's stable. Let's use the word stable now because we're never going to use it later. That's the last thing we're going to use, even in terms of medically. He's never stable.
Donald Hollis's nickname was quarterback by default.
There you go. That's, I think, everybody in his position.
That's his fucking empire. That's his legacy.
Terrible. Donald Hollis Queens right there.
I tried to Google Donald Hollis superhero, and it just said quarterback by default.
Quarterback by default. When you have nobody else, you're like, fuck. All right, get him in there. Fine. That's fine.
Too.
How's Bolitnikoff looking? Is he still limping? Maybe he could play quarterback for us, even though he never played quarterback.
Right.
Rich Gannon comes in that year over from Kansas City.
Right.
And Rich Gannon starts all 16 games, so he stabilized the quarterback position. 24 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, which for that team, it's fine. They go 8-8. Barret this year scores some money. He signs a contract extension this year because 3 years in a row of 16 games started. He's doing great. They give him a 5-year extension. They agree to pay him an average over the contract of $3.7 million a year.
Wow.
$3.7 million a year.
$15 million over 5 years.
So he went and got, he went and got, I want to say it was $18 million, $18.5 over 5 years or something like that, which is phenomenal for this guy. He's terrific. A center from TCU.
A multi-millionaire now.
That's terrific for this guy, man. good for you,
All
Barret.
you got to do is fucking hike the ball to Gannon and fucking stand back and keep people.
Call the protections
Yeah.
and do your goddamn job. Year 2000, the Raiders go 12-4 now.
There you go.
12-4. They win the AFC West, so they win their division.
Yep.
Barret again, 16 starts. He's earning his money
What year
still.
is this?
This is 2000.
Ouch! This is the year after Denver beat the Falcons, and then had
Raiders.
Bubby Brister.
Yes,
Ugh.
and then the Raiders come back and the Raiders are good, and Bubby Brister is your quarterback. You must have been losing your
so
fucking
depressed.
mind.
This is why I was wishing for plane crashes because of this shit.
I don't blame you. So 16 starts for Barret, like we said. Rich Gannon starts all 16 games, 28 touchdowns, 11 picks, which is doing great. They go to the playoffs, obviously, because they won their division. They beat Miami 27-0 in the first round in the wild card, which, they stomped Miami.
Yeah.
That was when Miami was that was when the AFC East was weak.
Yeah.
This is Belichick just gets there that year, I believe. So that's
Jets, Miami,
Patriots,
and,
not terrific,
who's the
man.
fourth one?
Buffalo.
So, that was Jesus. That was
that's bad.
It's still not great.
No, but
it's
at
still
least
not
now
super competitive.
You have
but,
one team that's always in the Super Bowl that's there, so it makes them look better. And the Jets are good every 5 years, so they're not good, but they're 10-6.
And this is how competitive the AFC West was then. Was that
it was great.
The AFC entirely. I mean,
they were tough.
At 12-4, you're a wild card.
Well, you had to. They had to play in the wild card. Well, they weren't a wild card; they won the division, but they had to play in the wild card because other teams were 13-3 and whatever.
That's why the AFC was fucking dominant.
Definitely. So they beat Miami then.
Yeah. Wait till you get to the Super Bowl.
Well, we'll see. Then they go to Baltimore, or Baltimore comes to their place, actually, and they lose 16-3 to Baltimore that year. Baltimore had that stifling defense, and they were rough. That was the year Baltimore was rugged. That was when they won the Super Bowl that year. So you lose to the eventual Super Bowl winner. It's
not bad.
Whatever, it happens. March 7th, 2001, he and his wife, Marissa, have a daughter.
Uh-oh.
So things are looking good. He's got a wife, a family. He's got $18 million coming to him. Life is good. Daughter's name is Marley. 2001, Raiders go 10-6. They win the NFC West. Barret only plays in 2 games.
Yeah.
He starts both. He had an injury that year.
Yeah.
It's nothing crazy. He just had an injury and was hurt all year. Starts both the games and then gets hurt. Gannon plays all 16 games at quarterback, 27 touchdowns, 9 picks. So very consistent, I would say, from last year was 28-11. Damn nice. They beat the Jets 38-24 in the wild card game, and then the snowy New England Patriots game.
The Tuck rule.
This is the Tuck rule game. This is the game everybody knows who Tom Brady is.
You betcha.
This is the game that made Tom Brady famous. He was a shitheel rookie quarterback who got fucking lucky when refs interpreted a call their own way and stopped an obvious fumble and changed the course of history, basically, in the snow. And
Damn Tuck rule.
I'm not a Raiders fan, but I hate the fucking Patriots. The only team I dislike more than the Patriots is the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So I will root for anyone against the Patriots except the Cardinals.
I'll root for the AFC in every Super Bowl unless it's the Raiders or Patriots.
That's Patriots.
Literally,
the Cardinals are the only team I ever root for the Patriots against. That's it. Other than that, no, not happening. So they do all this. So they lose this. Patriots end up winning that game 16-3 because of that horseshit decision, and go on to win the Super Bowl, the whole deal, and
that's when Tom Brady begins his legacy.
That is the history of the whole thing. That's exactly right. Yeah. Tom Brady, Belichick, everybody.
Drew Bledsoe, who?
Poor Drew Bledsoe. He's over there like,
fuck that guy.
Wasn't I like a number 1 pick? What the fuck
what
happened?
Just happened?
What's going on here?
And who's that 8th round motherfucker?
Yeah, why
that
is
just
Mr.
got lucky as shit with the refs calling a fucking stupid rule?
Yeah, what would have happened if that didn't happen?
I don't know.
Who knows what would have happened?
I can't imagine.
The next year, it might have been an open competition. You know what I mean? For quarterback. And maybe Brady doesn't get in, and who knows, So
maybe they don't beat the fucking Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
That was all right, moving on.
So 2002, Al Davis, as we know, remember we were saying he's notoriously cheap with the stopover flights. He also is notoriously the worst paying owner to coaches in the league.
Really?
He will not pay coaches shit. He just does not believe in paying coaches.
Well, no, because they don't call the plays anyway. He calls them from up in his fucking studio up there.
Exactly. And that Gruden, same thing. He did not want to pay Gruden, and Gruden wanted to get paid.
Of course.
And he was making waves because, fuck yeah.
We just gone to the playoffs twice.
Yeah, just turn your team around.
Right.
I'm getting more than minimum wage here for this. So he, rather than pay Gruden, he trades him. He trades him.
He traded a coach?
He traded a coach to Tampa Bay, which is exactly the same thing that happened 2 years earlier. That's how the Patriots got Bill Belichick.
Okay.
They traded with the Jets for him.
I remember
same
that.
exact thing. Because it was a mix-up with who they hired.
Yeah.
It was a huge mess like the Jets always are because they're a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
My third least favorite team right there. So, I'm a Giants fan. What do you want?
I didn't realize that's how Gruden went to Tampa Bay. It was through a trade.
He got traded there.
Hilarious.
Gets traded. They end up the Bucks give the Raiders 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and $8 million.
My God.
Which is like airfare for stopovers for like 3 seasons.
And
for
I
this
bet
shit, so
you
he's
with
excited.
how cheap that fucker is.
He stretched it.
I bet you he blew that $8 million.
He probably did.
Just to throw it in Gruden's face.
I got to love about Al Davis, one thing I love about it, because I love an anti-everything person like that. I love that if there was a vote, there would never be a unanimous vote among the owners because he would vote against it just to be a prick. Fuck you guys. He hated them. They hated him. I love that about him. Well, all the other guys were these old money, whatever, and he was a guy used to be a player. Used to be a coach, earned his team. You know what I mean? Like, he's a different kind of guy.
And angry.
And because that's what he is. He's like, I'm a fucking street guy. That's his whole thing. Like, he's one of those guys where he's like, I came from the street. What are you talking about?
Took that $8 million and paid for that eternal flame out front of fucking the Raiders Stadium.
Maybe.
Just financed his own. He's like, this $8 million will cover all the gas bill that it's going to take to make that shit burn.
No, or maybe he got himself a new Cadillac because they used to drive around. That was what he would drive around in a black Cadillac with dark tints and no license plates. None. And nobody pulled him over.
It's illegal as fuck.
Because if you see a big giant black Cadillac with blacked out windows and no plates, that's Al Davis, period. So why pull him over? So you know who it is. He's got the plates. It's registered. It just he's on the put him on his car.
Old white man driving around in Oakland. Don't fuck with him anyway.
He's a prick. And he doesn't feel like having license plates.
That guy's not to be fucked with.
No, he's crazy. Tampa was so desperate they needed somebody, and really smart of them, honestly, to get Gruden because it changed their fate forever because they were a laughingstock for 20 goddamn years, 25 years.
And it comes from that gay swashbuckler on
That's
their
it,
helmet.
man, with his knife in his mouth, winking at you. It's like,
Come
God,
get some.
He just looks like, I'll jerk you off right under that table. Don't you even worry about it, buddy.
Like
I'll reach right under and tug you.
It's like a sweet threat. I'll jerk you off.
Want to try me?
I dare you. I swear to God, I'll jerk you off.
So they hire a new coach who was the offensive coordinator. They hire Bill Callahan. He'll last 2 seasons and never head coach in the NFL again. He's an offensive coordinator. This Raiders team ruins him. They go 11-5 in 2002. Barret starts acting a little weird on the field. A couple of personal fouls that were kind of costly for them. One in a September game against Tennessee when he punched Albert Hainsworth, which was odd. Took a swing at Albert Hainsworth. And then another one, he was ejected that year in the Baltimore game for kicking Ray Lewis of the Ravens. Yeah, that's ballsy.
Wasn't Hainsworth the one that stomped somebody's fucking head while they were on the ground?
Yeah, Hainsworth is a piece of garbage.
Hainsworth was a fucking horrible person.
And he was the one that they kept teams keep signing him, and then they cut him because he can't even pass the physical fitness standard.
He's
like
a big fat loser.
Yeah, he's too out of shape. And someone gave him $100 million, and he just didn't care anymore. And he even said, like, I got money, I don't give a shit. He just doesn't care.
I'll stomp ahead. I don't give a shit.
You know what? If you give me $100 million, I really don't give a shit about much anymore. Talk all the shit you want. I got $100 million.
He kicked a guy that was fucking.
That was Ndamukong Suh.
No, I'm saying
you're thinking of.
I'm saying
Hainsworth.
No.
Oh,
our boy Barret.
Barret.
He kicked a man that was accused of stabbing someone
the year before, 6 months earlier. He's accused of being a murderer, and he's also nuts.
He's got a fucking problem.
He's dangerous.
You ever listen to the guy? Just listen to him talk, and you know he's got issues.
Totally. Rich Gannon, the quarterback, starts all 16 games, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks. Barret starts all 16 games, come back strong from the injury. Makes the Pro Bowl.
Wow.
He's a Pro Bowler,
Pro
Jimmy.
Bowl center.
AP First Team NFL.
First Team
Associated Press NFL. Come on, man. This is going great for him. Divisional playoffs against the Jets. They stomped the Jets 30-10.
Yeah.
AFC Championship game against the Titans and the aforementioned Steve McNair.
Yeah.
They beat them 41-24.
Wow.
The Raiders are going to the Super Bowl.
Against who?
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You betcha.
Can I say one thing, Jimmy? Grace.
There it is.
Grace right now. This is where it ends.
Before the game is grace.
Before the game is grace.
That's depressing.
It really is. And it's even more depressing for him, or we'll find out exactly what it is. I almost gave away the star here. Right. Super Bowl versus the Buccaneers and their old coach, John Gruden, which is kind of an interesting matchup. I remember that being interesting.
Yeah.
It's at Qualcomm in San Diego.
Yeah.
So beautiful weather. 88 88.6 million viewers for that.
Wow.
88.6.
That seems low.
It seems low. I don't know if that's U.S. I don't think that's worldwide.
No, it can't be worldwide.
Commercial time for that, 30-second commercial, $2.1 million for that back then, which it's more expensive now. Or is it less expensive, actually? Might be. I would think it'd be less expensive.
I feel like it's $1 million for 30.
Wow.
I feel
not bad.
Maybe not. I don't know. I remember the Super Bowl because I was a fucking server at the time.
Oh, man.
At not Famous Dave's. I forget something Dave's.
Some Dave asshole.
I don't know.
Who cares?
It was some shit bar.
Yeah.
And I made a shitload of money
on the Super Bowl,
but not on the Super Bowl, for serving.
Oh, for serving.
I made a shitload of money giving people beer at a bar, and I enjoyed it because of the outcome.
I watched the game at a guy's house whose whole surrounding area was farmland and it smelled like shit. He was like one of those new neighborhoods that they're trying to put in the farms, and you couldn't open the windows because the whole house would reek of shit.
And then the guy that was the manager of the bar was never ever there. He had his assistant manager there every hour of it, that it was open, he was always there. His name was Toby. Nobody knew his last name. He went by Toby. That's it. Just his name.
Toby's
just his first
not exactly a one-namer.
And he was a fucking pimp. He a legitimate pimp. He would run hoes around town.
Too bad he didn't play any sports. We'd have something to talk about with that.
He was a fucking. And I asked him once because I was a young kid and I wanted to help him, and I wanted to be like, could I drive? Could I just drive him somewhere? Can I just drop him to their jobs and stuff?
Oh, the girls?
Yeah. I just wanted some sort of money of some sort that I didn't have to serve tables and drunks. And he would not let a 5'7", 5'8" white kid.
You're not going to be threatening
around
if someone wants to kidnap these women.
Girls that are selling their vagina.
I would say not. You wouldn't be my first choice either, I got to say. I get a guy like Barret Robbins, I think, would be my guy. So at the Super Bowl, the Dixie Chicks sing the national anthem.
I remember.
The halftime show is Shania Twain, Sting, and No Doubt.
You bet.
This halftime show concludes with Sting performing Message in a Bottle, and then Gwen Stefani comes out in the middle of it. Like, that sounds fucking awful. That just sounds terrible. Marissa and the kids fly to San Diego to join Barret 3 days before the game.
Yeah.
He doesn't show up to meet them.
Really?
Which is strange.
Yeah.
Your kids and wife are coming in. You should probably go meet them. Doesn't show up at all. They go to the hotel. The family does. It's a different hotel set apart from the players by themselves.
Yeah.
The wife at first just thinks he's being an asshole.
Yeah.
She literally is like, why is he being such a jerk and just ignoring me? But looking back on it, she sees it as a build-up to a manic episode, which is his problem. He is very bipolar.
Really?
And let's find out. This is the first time they find this out, that he's actually bipolar. And it's we're not going to find it out for a little bit, but that's what they find out later on.
You fly your wife and kids in, and you're in the Super Bowl.
Weird.
Like, you really... That's a moment for your whole family to really bask in it.
It is. And she said they spent a Friday evening together, and it was super weird.
Yeah.
They were trying to get to Rodney and Holly Robinson Pete's party.
Rodney Pete's place?
Pete and his wife there. They had I guess Barret hired a car to take them.
Yeah.
And it was a Honda Civic, and there was a woman driving who kept getting lost.
Oh.
And so they never got to the party.
What?
So the Raiders had a curfew of 11 p.m., so they had to turn around and go drop Barret off at the place because he had to be back by 11 p.m. So they drop him off. The next morning... It's Saturday morning. It's the family hotel. They call Marissa, and they're like, hey, you seen Barret at all?
Yeah.
We're like, no, we don't know where the fuck he is. He never came back. We don't know where he is. He's gone.
Uh-oh.
Gone. Absolutely gone. He doesn't come back till Saturday night. He comes back on Saturday night. The Raiders send him to his wife's hotel. They're like, figure this out, basically.
Yeah.
Go with your family or something. And he missed a whole shitload of activities on Saturday. There's tons of walkthrough practices, all sorts of... Well, no, this is more football-related shit.
Oh,
like team
actual,
walkthroughs.
fucking
playbook
they're
stuff.
They're
installing plays and shit like that still in this whole deal here. What he's doing, he is sitting on the bed, just sitting there flipping through music channels on TV, oblivious to what's going on. Has no idea what's going on. Doesn't know anything. This is Saturday night, late at night.
Listening to the Eurythmics.
Thinks
or some
everything
shit.
is fine. She asked him if he knew what day it was and whether he knows what he's supposed to be doing. Do you know what's going on? And he looked confused and didn't know. And she said, it's Sunday. This was Sunday morning. She goes, it's Sunday. And
it's kind of a big deal.
He didn't know what was going on, and he apologized because he thought he missed church. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed church. Like, he didn't even know where the fuck he was.
Dum-dum, we've got a big fucking game today.
No clue. He's just flipping through music channels going, oh, my bad, I missed church. Like, why are we in San Diego
You're not
then?
even at home, dipshit.
Wow. Yeah, but this whole thing ended up leading to the bipolar diagnosis, which is great. But, his wife was happy, actually, with the diagnosis. She said, quote, I was just throwing my hands up to the sky and saying, hallelujah. At least this will give me an answer to all the things that have been going on. We got all these disorienting, weird, all these disoriented things. And now it's finally going on.
Now we have something to treat.
What he was doing Saturday, he went down to Tijuana.
What?
He went down to Tijuana.
He left the fucking country?
He left the country, left his cell phone, left his wallet, left his money, and went to Tijuana because he didn't even think. He's just out there.
Really, in Tijuana, you don't need money.
He was down there celebrating the big Raiders Super Bowl win that they didn't even play yet.
He was celebrating.
He thought they played
the
the game and they won. Several people down there, friends of his, other people were saying he was like, cheers, everybody. Yeah, we're champs. We won the Super Bowl.
Wow.
And everyone's like, what's wrong with Barrett, dude?
Holy shit.
They thought they played already and won. I mean, that was it.
And nobody had any fucking panic in them. Then I'd be like, this guy is fucking... Something's wrong.
Absolutely. Back in the States, the Raiders lose the game 41-28.
They did.
They lose that. It might have not helped that he wasn't there either because Rich Gannon was sacked a shitload, intercepted 5 times. I mean, it was a mess. He looked terrible, and a center who was in his groove might have helped him out a lot about that. A lot of people blame him for the loss.
Really?
They blame Barrett for the loss to this day.
How about
that? If we had our center, this wouldn't have happened. Gannon would have had a better game. Gannon doesn't say that. Gannon is actually a decent guy. Gannon says, quote, I'm not buying that. Quite honestly, I don't think I was ever mad at Barrett. I just felt frustrated and disappointed, and I felt bad for him that he couldn't enjoy the fruits of his labors. Yeah. He was supposed to play in the Super Bowl, and he got voted into the Pro Bowl for the first time. He never got to do any of that, which is sad. It really is. He was on medication, and he stopped taking it the week before the Super Bowl. That's all it took. Stop taking the medication. By Saturday, he's in Tijuana going, we won the Super Bowl. And by Sunday morning, he thinks he missed church.
Sorry, I missed church.
So he needs medication. Other teammates were not as nice to him. Other teammates were nasty about it, honestly. Mo Collins, who was a guard, works right next to him on the offensive line, said, whatever the fuck Rock...
I love when a statement starts out with, whatever the fuck.
Whatever the fuck rock he came up from under, he can stay there. I would welcome him back as a business partner, but not as a brother. A brother wouldn't leave you hanging like that.
My man.
That's rough. Now, he didn't know also about the disease or anything like that. He just thought he was being a jerk off and he was being irresponsible, which, whatever.
Taking some vacation time.
Now, I love that the guy who wrote this article was kind of like, thought that was shitty that he was ripping him like that when the guy had mental problems. So this guy went up and dug in this Mo Collins past.
Oh, no.
And he said, you wonder how Collins' University of Florida teammates felt in 1996 when he was suspended for 6 games after accepting $500 from an agent. Maybe they didn't view him as much of a brother. A brother wouldn't leave you hanging like that, would he? He even put that in there. A brother wouldn't leave you hanging like that, would he?
Took his own quote and jammed it right up his ass.
Right up his cornhole. I love it. Fuck that.
Or $500. That's even worse.
That's even worse. Yeah, because you wanted to go out and I don't even know what.
Buy
some beer that night and a pair of shoes.
In
what
college,
do you fucking buy for $500?
A college kid blows $500 in one night.
One night. Another guy, Frank Middleton, who's an offensive lineman, said, quote, if Barrett Robbins comes back next season, I won't. I want to play with people I can rely on. I don't want to go into next year worrying about some cat making it to the game. Or a family. When crunch time comes and one of your family members doesn't come through, it hurts. He also said, quote, no one is bigger than the team. If someone chooses to do something wrong, that's on him. We feed our family and he's got to feed his. Once they told us what happened, we picked up and moved on.
Wow.
You know who the one guy who wasn't a dick about the whole thing besides Rich Gannon? Bill Romanowski, of all fucking people. Of all people.
That guy's a huge cunt.
Would be the guy I would think would be like, oh, fuck that guy, he's a dick. He actually said, are you mad at him? Do you not want to play with him? And he said, quote, no, the guy's got a problem and he has to do what he has to do. The guy has got to get some help.
Yeah,
he's fine.
Wrong.
He said, it's
That's
whatever.
a guy on defense, though, that doesn't have to rely
play
on
next
him.
to him.
Right.
But still, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's
that's
still
the difference
between
today's view of mental illness versus back then.
Back then,
today,
and the coaches, they all thought of it as a weakness.
Yeah,
he's just weak. That's
now
what it was.
It's like we need to get that motherfucker some help.
Get him some meds, and he'll be better. I mean, because we did this with Alonzo Spellman. Yeah, same behavior where he shows up, he doesn't even say, and he was bipolar. Same thing, and he didn't want to take his meds, and that's what happened. Barret says about this whole debacle about the game, Bill Callahan, the coach, particularly, says, quote, Bill Callahan did notice my behavior and actually told me we were not going to start you unless you get your stuff together, because he could tell. I know he could tell. Yeah. So he told him in the week, hey, get your shit together, and that was it. He said he was so disappointed when the coach told him he wasn't going to play. But in the Super Bowl, because he was there.
He told him, you're not playing in the Super Bowl?
That Sunday morning, because he was gone all Saturday. And he's like, you're not playing today. Yeah. And he was like, what do you mean I'm not playing today? You got to let me do this. And all he could do is sit there, and basically he was just saying, I'm sorry. It's all he could do, because he was like, shit, I don't know what to do here. Callahan also told him that he had a friend. Callahan had a friend with bipolar disorder, so he could relate, and that the medication was going to be part of the process, and he would have to deal with it and tinker it his whole life, and all that sort of thing. But he didn't voice that to the team, though. He just said that to him. And then said to the team, like, fuck that guy. Yeah. Exactly. But in front of him, he's like, after the game, Callahan said he hadn't talked to Robbins since the game. This was a couple days later. Callahan said, quote, I'm concerned, but I know he's in good hands.
That's nice.
He wouldn't say where Robbins was. He just said he thought he went back to Oakland. The night before, apparently when he was like up and down, he was in Tijuana, he was partying. A friend of his who was drinking with him said that at one point he became very despondent, Barrett. And the guy said, the guy's name is Cartier Dice, which is a hell of a name.
Fuck yeah.
He said, quote, all he could think about was his family, his 2 daughters. He was talking about killing himself, saying he was a disappointment, saying he was disappointing people, and he had a lot of support financially, and he was letting them all, a lot of people to support financially, and he was letting them all down. Jesus. He was manic, and then he went depressive, and it's brutal, man. Yeah. He removed Robbins. Callahan removes Robbins from the team hotel and moved him to Marissa's, like we said. But that's it. He didn't have. He didn't say. He said that nobody monitored him after that. They didn't make sure he went anywhere. He said, quote, Robbins' situation, quote, didn't mandate personal bodyguards around the clock, which maybe before, but after it would have at that point. He said, Callahan again, quote, there's a point in time you can only do so much as a coach in an organization. True, but
if you're legitimately worried about somebody and you care about somebody's well-being, you do a little extra.
Yeah,
you go above and beyond.
Let's hear,
especially when you can relate and you know what bipolar
that this happens.
does.
Yeah, it's not like I don't know what that is. Whatever. Right. It's like, my friend has meds.
Right.
Yeah, he would. Whatever.
You're gonna have to manage this your whole life. How about you help?
Yeah, maybe help us out. Yeah,
you're
my coach. You're supposed to be in this with me. You're brother. You're my brother.
Remember that part?
So we have Barrett's explanation here in their own words. Quote, there had to be a point where I had to separate fact from fiction. It's hard sometimes when you have bipolar, not on medication and self-medicating, but I had become delusional and I had gotten into a state of mind that's not healthy for anybody. Ultimately, it hurt me more than anyone. Yeah. I do hate the fact that it affected 53 other players. I wish they had a Super Bowl ring instead of an AFC Championship ring because they deserved it. Yeah. That's nice. Tim Brown has a completely different theory on the game. Tim Brown, the Hall of Fame wide receiver, ex-Notre Dame, Heisman Trophy winner, I think, everything.
He's amazing.
All around great player, by all accounts, a great guy, everything like that. He says that Bill Callahan threw the game. He says,
really?
He says Bill Callahan, quote, blew this thing up on Friday before the Super Bowl. It changed the game plan from one depending on running to one to which the Raiders would throw the ball 60 times. This is crazy. This happened on Friday. And Brown's saying you never take the game plan out on a Friday and reinstall another game plan. That is batshit. Nobody does that. You work on that shit all week. Yeah. That's what you're doing.
Unless you're a bad coach and you're just like terrified that
I don't know what to do.
Somebody know like the water boy,
like Gruden,
right? Yeah.
Well, Gruden
he might
was
know
also,
what we do.
Yeah, and he was Gruden's offensive coordinator, and he might have been overthinking it.
Right.
But Tim Brown said, "quote We called it sabotage because Callahan and John Gruden were good friends, and Callahan had a big problem with the Raiders. Hated the Raiders. Only came to the Raiders because Gruden made him come. Literally walked off the field on us a couple times during the season." When he first got there, the first couple years as an assistant. So really, he has become someone who is part of the staff, but we just didn't pay any attention to him. Gruden leaves, he becomes the head coach.
Jesus Christ.
It's hard to say that the guy sabotaged the Super Bowl. You know, can you really say that? That can be my opinion. I can't say it for a fact that his plan was to sabotage the Super Bowl. He hated the Raiders so much that he would sabotage the Super Bowl so his friend can win the Super Bowl. It's hard to say because you can't prove it. But the facts are less than 36 hours before the game, we changed our game plan. Wow.
Jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams.
Holy
9/11 was an inside job.
You bet your
there
ass.
There were no plane parts at the Pentagon.
He has an Alex Jones
Shut
bumper
up,
sticker.
Tim Brown.
Tim Brown totally has an Alex Jones bumper sticker on his car.
I
it
respected
is.
Tim Brown right up until 5 minutes ago. What the fuck did he just do?
Fucking crazy, man.
What a dick.
What a loon.
That's a guy that can't accept defeat.
No.
He has to. Blaming a coach is one thing, but fucking throwing out some nutty conspiracy theory like that.
Yeah.
Callahan, I promise you, Callahan wants that ring.
He wanted to win the Super Bowl.
There's nothing that man regrets more in his life than not having that fucking ring.
And he also says that this had a dramatic. The game plan is what he said. That's Tim Brown's whole theory. Is the game plan is what sent Barret Robbins off the deep end.
Okay.
Because he said he had a bit of a meltdown, Robbins, when they changed the game plan because he had all his shit set, and he's the center, so he's got all the protections. And if you're running or passing, it's a big different deal. He said that Barret Robbins said, quote, Barret Robbins begged Coach Callahan, do not do this to me. I don't have time to make my calls, to get my calls ready. You can't do this to me on a Friday. We haven't practiced full speed. We can't get this done.
Okay.
So he said he begged. And one of the things, too, honestly, with a bipolar, to send you into a tizzy, what might be stressors like this, and that could have been a thing if you put a huge stressor on him the Friday before the Super Bowl.
Anxiety will drive you batshit.
Absolutely. And Tim Brown said, quote, now, should Barret have manned up and tried to do it? Absolutely. But everybody knew Barret was unstable anyway. So to put him in that situation, not that he was putting him in that situation, but for the decision to be made without consulting the players on Friday, I played 27 years of football. The coaches never changed the game plan on a Friday before the game. Then he says, I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody here, which you just said you think it's sabotage.
Right.
Wow. That's insane.
Tim Brown. Wow.
Yeah.
27 years in the NFL, and that's his fucking takeaway. Like, granted, I never played in the NFL.
No.
I can't really give much personal experience. Very little, matter of fact. Actually, zero.
Actually, none.
But that's a fucking ridiculous thought.
It's ridiculous. And Barret, even, this is the thing. When Barret Robbins is going, he's a little loopy, you're fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Because Barret says, and we're not going to do it in their own words because it's too long, and I don't feel like editing that much music in. So Barret says, quote, I would be absolutely wrong to tell you that was the case, okay? If Tim Brown goes on record and says that he changed the game plan on Friday, I don't even remember. You have to understand that I was having a manic episode and that had lasted more than 2 weeks. At that point in time, when we were going to the Super Bowl, I was having to shoot my foot up, going through acupuncture, going through a lot of pain. It was a lot of stress. Pain is a big trigger when it comes to bipolar, and that was something I was going through along with self-medicating.
I can imagine.
That was a lot, so I am not going to say I can remember the exact meeting that took where that took place, but I haven't heard anybody deny it.
Okay.
So he's like, I don't fucking know. I was in loopy as shit.
Yeah.
Anything could have happened.
Anything.
Papa Smurf could have came in and gave us a new game plan, and I would have thought that was fine.
Yeah.
January 28th, they tell him he's not going to play in the Pro Bowl either.
Wow.
In Honolulu, team doctors declined to clear him medically to participate.
Brutal.
I guess as a Pro Bowler, you must be cleared by your team. It said, quote, the Raiders doctors do not believe that he was physically fit to perform in the Pro Bowl, and they notified our office today. That's what the NFL said. Callahan said that Robbins was, quote, essentially dismissed from the team, and that, quote, today I dismissed him and sent him back to Alameda. He missed some responsibilities and obligations, which is interesting. Then a Raiders executive said, quote, what the coach said and what we're saying today. It's up to you to draw your own conclusions. These are team issues, and I won't address it one way or another. So, it turns out
we're keeping it in-house.
They're keeping it in-house. He ends up going to the Betty Ford Clinic for 31 days.
Yeah.
He gets in shape. He gets back in shape. And this is all. He has a couple of problems in the offseason.
That's the alcohol clinic.
Yeah, but it's also, I think, I think there's
just
a lot of
rehab.
different. I think there's a lot of different things there going on. That's his problem too. Is alcohol. He's got a huge alcohol problem.
Yeah, because he's self-medicating.
He's self-medicating like crazy.
Yeah.
He couldn't get out of bed from depression during the off season at some point. Yeah, we've all been there for that. But
that's brutal.
Bipolar isn't just depression. It's a totally different thing here.
You're hot and cold. That's what
the
the
manic
bi comes
phase, you
from.
feel great and invincible and everything is terrific, and then you're depressed and you want to kill yourself.
5 minutes later, literally 5 minutes,
Anything.
and you want to jump off a bridge.
Anything. He gets it together, though. His wife said, quote, he had a year sober after the Super Bowl, and it was the most fantastic year of our lives. He was the husband I always knew he could be and the father I always knew he could be.
That's sweet.
So that's great. The Raiders take him back in 2003.
Really?
Callahan's still the coach. They go 4-12 that year.
Wow.
Back in the shitter. Rebuilding. Barret plays in 9 games, starts all 9. They have a quarterback mashup of Gannon, Rick Meyer, terrible ex-Notre Dame quarterback. Marcus Tuiasosopo has the greatest name in football history. He
does.
And T. Martin, the old University of Tennessee quarterback. T. Martin.
I don't remember
Black
that
dude
one.
from the University of Tennessee who sucked. He was almost like a Cordell Stewart. He was an athletic guy, but he just wasn't a good quarterback. The Steelers had him for a long time. Okay. Actually, he played like second string for them.
I don't remember him.
And Rob Johnson, who eventually signed a huge deal with the Bills to suck and get cut because he's terrible. Callahan gets shit canned at the end of this year.
Yeah.
Barrett needed knee surgery at the end of the year. Yeesh. His wife is very scared about the
aftermath
he's
gonna have
of that.
to start taking drugs.
Yep, and she reads extensively about bipolar disorder and that the pain and painkillers are what trigger manic attacks. And she's like, oh, shit, this isn't great. Manic episodes. Barrett also says he realizes that, so he's in a position where he realizes that, and he says he's going to promise to let her count his pills, so she know if he veers off into abuse because he won't be able to manage it. He said she's still worried though, and after a while he started getting crazy again.
Of course.
He started. I didn't mean to use the word crazy, but we're going to say crazy. He starts getting erratic, is what it is, and going all around.
His behavior is not normal.
No, absolutely not. November 2003, there is a Balco, as we've talked about before, the Balco steroid thing. Listen to the Tim Montgomery episode for more detail.
He's got a teammate that's very involved in it.
He does. He's got several, actually. Many Raiders. Dana Stubblefield, Tyrone Wheatley, Chris Heatherton.
Stubblefield was in that, too?
Yeah, absolutely. They all appear before the grand jury in November. 1 week later, they all test positive for steroids. Weird. They test them. This was supposed to be a private, sealed grand jury that no one knew who was there. Yeah. The team found out and tested those guys.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable. Romanowski gets suspended. Barret Robbins gets suspended for steroids because Robbins. So now we have blows to the head, alcohol, drugs, bipolar, and steroids.
Ouch.
All in one. Mix that together. That nasty. Shit is flammable. That is a flammable cocktail. Look at a lighter near
That'll
that shit.
Dissolve a brain in a minute.
Wow,
That's
man.
like
That is
Spanish guiso. That when they put a body in diesel fluid.
It's crazy.
That's what this is.
It's so bad. About testing positive, Barrett said, I'm not really talking about it. Obviously, I'm not happy about it. So that makes sense. His agents and all their agents are really fucking mad about that shit because they're like, this is wrong.
How are we going to market this fucker too
now?
Well,
not only that, but they said that was supposed to be a sealed thing, and we sent our players, and the league screwed us on it, which is bullshit.
And now this guy's worth in the NFL is shit.
Well, early 2004, Barrett actually has to be a grand jury witness in the Balco case, so that must have sent him over the deep end a little bit. July 2004, he is released by Oakland.
You bet.
This is a week after he and 2 other players were fined 3 game checks for testing positive for steroids.
Goddamn.
He also failed a physical exam, and then he asked for his release, so they released him. This is blows to the head: cocaine, alcohol, weed, steroids, bipolar.
Wow.
All together, mixed together.
Alcohol, weed, and coke, and steroids?
He's doing all of this to medicate. And blows to the head and bipolar. This is not good. It's not great to do any drugs or drink when you're bipolar. It's just not. You have a really delicate balance, and that's not good shit, man. It doesn't do well at all. Barrett is done in the NFL. 121 games played, 105 games started, 3 fumble recoveries, because that's all you get out of stats for a fucking
And those fumbles
center.
are his own quarterback's fumbles, or his.
Or
And he
a
just
running
fell
back
on it.
maybe going through the line. September 2004, he asks his wife for a divorce also.
What?
He's out of his mind. Who knows what he's thinking?
That's not smart.
No. In September, she moves out of September 2004, moves out of their home, takes their daughters, Madison and Marley, back to Southern California where her parents are. She said, quote, I bought this book called Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder, and the last chapter was called When Is It Okay to Leave? She said, it says that when the situation becomes unhealthy for the kids, and that's how I knew.
Yeah.
And their divorce was still going on. It'll go on for a few more years.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
with a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
And now back to the show. Web support for Crime and Sports is brought to you by webandwriter.com. If you're looking to build a website, go over to webandwriter.com. They build websites that look great on all screens, graphics, logos, engaging content. Go over to webandwriter.com or go over to facebook.com/webandwriter. They'll build you an unbelievable website at a very fair rate. They'll build you a very great website. Go see them. webandwriter.com.
Christmas Eve 2004.
Yes.
He shows up alone at the Sir Francis Drake Hotel in San Francisco.
Is he booked there?
No, he's doing nothing. He's trying to get up to the Starlight Room on the 21st floor. A spokesman said that he's wandering around the 21st floor of the hotel, and a security guard comes up and asks him what he's doing.
Yeah.
Reasonable, right? So he doesn't know, so they escort him off the property. They try to escort him off the property, and everything's going fine. And
Did
then
he apologize for missing church?
out of nowhere, and this will keep happening, out of nowhere, the spokesperson said, all of a sudden he comes back, and the guard turned around, and Robbins hit him. So he just attacks this guard and starts beating the shit out of him a little bit, punches him a couple of times. Out of nowhere, for no reason. The guy was just like, oh, yeah, we can go out this exit, and Barret just starts blasting him.
Wow.
He's arrested, charged with battery and drunken disorderly conduct. He's held on $1,000 bond. He gets out of there, ditches all of that, leaves behind an outstanding bench warrant for himself, and heads to Florida, heads to Miami.
Not a good place.
Yeah, he's got a friend of his, an old friend who lives in South Beach, and he's going to go take in the social scene and party and hang out in South Beach, man. His family is freaking out, obviously. This guy shouldn't be out doing this. They try to track him down, but no one will get him to leave. He's not going anywhere. He's going crazy here. So mid-January here, the friend leaves Florida. Robbins stays behind by himself.
What? So
now he's in Florida by himself. No friends, no family, just doing whatever. January 15th, 2005, Miami Beach police investigate a report of a robbery. Okay, It's in the administrative office of a building that has a nightclub, gym, jewelry store, the whole deal. It's like a complex, and the upper floors have the offices.
Okay.
So he's going through that. That's what they say the robbery is. Barret ends up barreling himself through a pub. It's on the first floor, the Playwright Irish Pub. The owner and the chef are telling him no, and he busts through the kitchen, goes there, and goes up to a second-floor bathroom through there. This huge, crazy guy doing that. He has no shirt, no shoes on, and he's in a complete manic state. Okay? It's nuts.
And he used to play center.
And 2 years ago, literally.
He's so big.
He's doing this. The police come, and the police look all around, and they said some guy ran by up there. He's upstairs, so they go and find him. He's found hiding in a second-floor women's bathroom, okay? Two detectives find him in there. He is sitting on the toilet, not shitting, but sitting there with no shoes on, looking like a crazy person sitting in the toilet. So they're escorting him out of the bathroom. There's a third officer who had come up too, and the third officer tells him, please place your hands on the wall to be searched.
Sure.
Basically, what he did then was beat the living shit out of these cops.
What?
Starts kicking their asses. They say he repeatedly laughed as he was beating the shit out of this Colin Fronger, who is the officer, with his fists. He drove him through the emergency exit door like he was in Roadhouse, tossing somebody out for throwing a bottle at the blind guy, laughing.
His balls off.
The cops said the other two detectives, Mark Schoenfeld and Mike Muley, they say that he was completely undeterred by kicks and punches from them at him. They're trying to kick his ass, and he's ignoring them, tossing this other guy around.
Here's one moment that he's thankful that it's not 2017.
Yeah.
Because they would have shot him with everything.
So this isn't like a tight hallway, and it happens so fast. They're like, what the hell's going on? You don't have any, you take a gun out, he's right there. He might take it away from you. Who knows?
Like that.
So they try to subdue him, but eventually he's like King Kong. Like he turns his attention away from the one officer he threw through the emergency exit and turns around to these guys. Like, you want some now? He picks up Schoenfeld like a body slam. Picks him up like he is Hulk Hogan body slamming him and slams him into both sides of the wall in the hallway. Picks him up and starts racking him against the hallway like he's in the WWE. All three of these officers were under 180 pounds, and they're fighting. At this point, he's a 350-pound manic, giant alcohol-fueled crazy person.
He is the fucking Incredible Hulk.
Yes. Now, they say that Robbins tried to grab Fronger's gun at this point. So Muley, the other one, pulls his gun and threatens to shoot Robbins. So what Robbins does is slap his gun, grabbed his whole face with his hand. They said covered his face and started slamming his head into the wall while he was holding his face.
Like Harry and the Hendersons.
This is crazy. Yeah, he's a giant, he's a Sasquatch. He's a loose Sasquatch in San Francisco. He's a San Francisco Sasquatch. That's the other thing, too, laughing the whole time. And they said as he was slamming his head into the wall, he also pinned the dude's forearms against the wall with the other thing and was hitting his head and began to snarl and growl at him. Wow. Holy shit.
Wasn't that what he did in Harry and the Hendersons? He'd grab faces and just like throw them down a hallway?
Yeah. The Fronger ends up unconscious, which is fucking nuts. Schoenfeld had a broken shoulder, busted teeth, the teeth knocked out, the whole thing. So Muley says, he grabs me by the face with his hand as he charged at me and smashes me into the wall. I had my firearm out, pointed at him. He was grabbing at my forearms, holding my forearms, trying to pull it away. I just started firing the gun.
Wow.
He fired 3 times. Fired 5 times. 3 slugs hit the hallway and office walls. 2 hit Barret right in the chest. 1 in the heart and 1 in the lung.
Oh, my God.
1 pierces his heart. 1 goes into his lung. Muley, the cop, says, quote, he didn't fall down. I was kind of surprised. He just bent over, put his elbows on his knees, and told me he was going to kill me now.
Oh, my God.
He said, quote, now I'm going to kill you. And he said that pissed him off.
Yeah.
Like that, he was like, now you're fucking dead.
You shot me in the heart,
before.
I'm going to fuck you up.
I was just fucking around. This was fun before. Now I'm going to fucking kill
you. Remember how I was laughing? It's not a joke anymore.
It's not a joke.
You shot me in the heart.
Imagine you shoot a guy close range twice in the chest, and he says, now I'm going to fucking
kill.
All you did was piss him off. All you did was piss him off.
Holy shit.
Hey, what do you do? That's
not a 9mm. That's a 40 or bigger.
It might have been a 38 back then. They
Maybe.
Probably got it. Even a 38's a pretty good
enough.
size. That'll get you going. They're not carrying 22s over here. So the cop says, quote, he didn't fall down like I thought he would, and he says he's going to kill him, which really, whatever. He knocks the cop's gun away at that point, slaps his gun away, and knocks Muley out cold. So he shoots him twice, he slaps it away, punches him, and then at that point, he sits down.
Is this for real?
This is for real. Then at that point, he sits down, okay?
I didn't know that you could get shot in the heart and live.
Apparently he can.
Not just live, but keep fighting.
It's insane. Robbins is also claiming the police used excessive force, that he was a victim of unwarranted assault and battery, which might have been in the beginning. But
hold on. He's around to take a statement after this?
Well, that's later. Let's get into this here.
He survives this?
He survives this.
What?
He does not die. This is not the end of his nickery. This doesn't even smarten him up. Never mind survive it. He says he just remembers running into them, pushing them, and getting shot. He doesn't remember any of it. The Detective Muley said he'll never forget, quote, knowing that there was nothing you could do to stop him. Nothing at all. Not even shoot him. It
Literally.
didn't even stop him. Yeah, it's fucking...
For real. You can't kill him.
It's absolutely nuts. I mean, can you imagine that? He goes to the hospital. He's going to be charged also, by the way, with attempted felony murder, which carries possible maximum sentence of life.
Yeah.
Also to resisting arrest with violence, trespassing, and trying to deprive an officer of his firearm.
How about assault on a police officer?
Yes, but his wife and his attorney are saying, look, obviously his attorney says his behavior as outlined in the arrest affidavit is clearly not that of a sane person, which is fair, I would say. He
was shot in the chest and
saying,
kept fighting.
I'm pissed off now. The Raiders released a statement saying, our thoughts and prayers go out to Barret and his family, and we hope he makes a full and speedy recovery. He is in a coma for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks in a coma. March 2nd, 2005. I'm sorry, more than 3 weeks. He finally wakes up. It wasn't until March 2nd, 2005.
Wow.
He wakes up. So that's a month and a half later. He wakes up. First things he remembered was being strapped to the hospital bed. He said he looked at the calendar on the wall, and he said it was terrifying, to be honest with you. I couldn't talk, but I could open my eyes and see things. I saw this calendar that said March 2nd, and I thought, oh no, March 7th is Marley's birthday. I have to get to a phone by March 7th. So they're medicating him, and he's starting to be, at least he comes out of it a little more normal. He stayed in the hospital till April. A
month and a half in the hospital.
January 15th he went in.
Oh, no, a month and a half after he's awake. Because he's in the hospital in a coma for almost 2 months.
He was finally, he wasn't off his respirator till March 13th.
Wow.
That was when he finally was able to breathe on his own and all that sort of thing.
So he missed Marley's birthday.
He wasn't paralyzed. They said his size definitely helped him a lot in this whole thing. What ends up happening is, the court at this point in April lets him go to his father's home in Flint, Texas to recover. He's basically free on bond, but facing 3 felony counts of attempted murder, which is an interesting thing here. In April 2005 here, that's why I said he's released from the hospital. He has to post a $51,000 bond to be able to go to Florida to do all of that, or to Texas to do that.
A crazy cop killer gets bond.
Yeah.
A guy that's so crazy that he will kill cops.
The prosecutor's office, after reviewing the evidence further, reduces the attempted murder charges to 3 counts of felony battery on a police officer, which is a little better. Yeah. He's looking at 30 years in prison now instead of life, which is a little better. Now, August 14th, 2005, this is a few months later, he's in Texas. He is arrested.
Okay.
He's fucking arrested again. And you shouldn't even be out, never mind arrested. He's detained after a bicycle patrol cop notices the smell of marijuana coming from his car.
Okay.
The cop said, quote, we had probable cause and the officer saw a marijuana pipe in plain view on the center console. He gave no resistance and was very passive, but officers were aware of his violent past.
As a cop, if you come across that guy and you run his information and see
never
what...
mind.
Have a nice day.
Have a good one.
Take
weed
care
is
of
not
yourself.
worth it. No. He's released on $800 bond after that. The Miami-Dade County State's Attorney's Office said that, quote, this may have negative ramifications on his pending criminal case in Miami. I would think so.
Yeah.
His father said, quote, he was in San Antonio smoking pot in the car, and he blew the smoke right in the direction of the bicycle cop. What in the world could you be thinking, is what he said.
He's
a dad.
Nuts. That's what he was thinking.
Yeah. He ends up getting sent back to Florida and put in protective custody.
Wow.
He said that was tough, really tough. I learned a lot about myself there. I would say so.
Mm-hmm.
September 8th, 2005. He is in court. He's looking scruffy. His shirt's untucked. He looks like a mess in his mugshot and everything. He sits in handcuffs here. He's charged with 3 counts of attempted murder officially here. They order him into custody because he has violations of his bond conditions, obviously. In 2006, August, they reach a plea agreement that he cuts the sentence to 5 years probation he gets for this. It keeps a felony off his record too. The way they did this,
5 years probation.
5 years probation
for beating the ever living fuck out of 3 cops.
Yes, it's crazy. He took the plea bargain. His lawyers didn't want him to take the plea bargain. Robbins said he wanted to move on and not risk a long sentence or spend more time in jail awaiting trial. He was in jail for 11 and a half months for violating the terms of his bond during that period.
But his lawyers are going, look, dude, you were on bond for attempted murder, and you fucked up then.
Yeah,
you're not going to be able to get through 5 years. You're just not.
So he gets 5 years probation, and he's ordered to continue treatment for bipolar and also to stop drinking alcohol.
That ain't going to stop.
But he's on probation. Positive drug tests out the ass.
Of course.
He gets probation violations, jail time, rehab attempts, halfway houses. Nothing works. His father said that he would get a call from a hotel, not from Barret, just from a hotel, saying that Barret had checked in and left all his possessions in his room, never checked out or paid the bill. He'd just be like, I'm leaving now, and walk away. He's just that disoriented.
He treated it like a storage unit.
Yeah, I'll just go there. It'll be fine. Early 2007, he avoids probation supervision because of a bureaucratic error when he goes back to Texas. He failed to take his medication and to alert authorities of his new residence, which are both probation violations, but it's a bureaucratic error and it gets let go. 2007, he's held briefly in the Bexar County Texas Corrections Department mentally impaired offender facility for having an incident just wandering around being disoriented. September 21st, 2007, a warrant is issued for his arrest in Miami-Dade for parole violation stemming from his run-in with the cops in 2005.
That's a bad county to have a warrant.
Dude, it's not good here. October 2007, he's extradited because they couldn't find him in Texas. He's extradited to Florida, placed in lockdown. He tests positive for marijuana.
Of course.
And he's admitted to Focus High Point Medical Center in Cooper City, Florida, and then he's sent to a halfway house in Texas. Yeah. He is a fucking disaster.
I've got no problem with weed. I get zero problems
not if
with
you're
it.
Bipolar,
but if
though.
it's not helping you, which it's obviously not.
He shouldn't be doing anything
That's not a
but
good
his medication.
medication.
No, it's not great. And then we're going to get a bunch of tweets. I'm bipolar, I need to smoke. I'm sure it's good.
Right.
That balances you. It doesn't balance everybody.
Not this
Clearly not
motherfucker.
this guy. May 2008, he moves in with a friend and starts doing drugs again. Violates his probation in Houston and tests positive for cocaine and marijuana. Sent back to jail and then to Houston for substance abuse treatment. He's just going in a little triangle back all around.
This is the system that's got him just stuck in it.
It's crazy. May 2008, he likes his probation officer. He says they're very caring, but he said that they couldn't stop him from using drugs, though. That's he has a test in May 2008. Before the test comes back, he tells the probation officer that he's going to get pot and cocaine in there. Says there's going to be coke and weed in there. And it's true. That comes back positive. He's sent to jail for 6 months. So he's there. It's interesting, man. So it's a fucking mess. I mean, he's in like lockdown too here. He says it's not a country club, this one that he's in here. 5 a.m. they wake him up, lights out at 10. He said he's so drained by all the group meetings and all that he's usually out by 8:30.
I'm exhausted from talking all day.
350 pounds sleeping on a single bed in there too, which has got to be weird looking here. January 13th, 2009, Barret and his lawyer file a civil rights lawsuit accusing the Miami Beach police of excessive force and seeking unspecified damages. Wow.
What?
That is crazy. They're doing that. They're basically saying that earlier in the day, what they're saying is earlier in the day, according to police dispatch log provided here, this is when he got shot that day, a large, heavily tattooed white male was wandering aimlessly barefoot, acting disoriented around. So what they did is the cops picked him up and, quote, took him over to the mainland and dropped him off on a street corner. So they didn't take him anywhere. They just dropped him off. So they're saying, if you didn't fucking do that, he wouldn't have been there and that wouldn't have happened. Right. That's your fault. They said that they should have invoked the Baker Act, which is a Florida statute that allows for detention for mental health evaluation. It's a 5150, like we've all heard of in California. Same thing.
It's a quote-unquote crazy person.
It's a quote-unquote whack job coming here.
Whack-a-doodle.
Whack-a-doodle.
Here it is, 5150.
February 1st, 2009, fluff piece.
What?
The fluff pieces start coming now.
Why would you write anything
He's
about
still
him?
alive.
Make him disappear.
It's called 6 Years Later, Robbins Still Finding His Way.
Wow.
He's still in rehab. The whole deal. He's talking about, this is in February 2009. He's saying he's going to graduate rehab on May 12th. And he's going to move into an aftercare. He's going to have constant supervision. They ask him if he's going to stay on his medication and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he says, in their own words, quote, I feel good. I really do. I have some physical issues, but that's mostly from playing football. For getting shot in the heart and lung, I'm doing fine. And mentally, I've never had clarity like I have now. There was always something missing. This is pretty much it. I'm fed up with things, and and the way they've been, and I'm tired of being sick. And let's face it, I don't have any more chances left.
It's
no
true.
Shit. You were shot in the heart and
Yeah.
survived. That's pretty good here. The Raiders do not want to comment on this article, but his wife Marissa feels confident that she says, "quote If I know if I needed anything, I could call the Raiders." I don't know about that, but we'll see here. She says 14 years dealing with this stuff, and I still love him. So she's a nice lady.
Nice.
She's crying. She's doing the whole thing. Barret is he's in this. He lost track of all the teammates, they said. His phone numbers are all gone.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know where he is.
No,
How's he going to remember a phone number?
His wife never tells the daughters exactly where he is. They just say that he's sick and he's getting help. They don't say that he got shot. They don't tell him about getting arrested.
Yeah.
She said when he can't send holiday presents, she always wraps an extra gift and marks it from Dad.
Oh.
So that's nice. She tries to, she's trying to help this guy here, but
doing her best.
It's ridiculous, man.
She's working really hard too to keep him in the picture.
Yeah, no, she really is. She's really, really trying. There's another fluff piece after this where he just says that he's trying his best. His dad says, quote, I think right now he doesn't see himself as very useful. And when you're used to making $3 million a year, the idea of making $60,000 can be tough.
Yeah.
But you have to see that $60,000 isn't useless. It's normal. He's saying,
you got to see that $60,000 as at least it's not nothing.
At least it's not nothing. Absolutely. June 13th, 2009, he's moved to a halfway house.
Yeah.
He says he straightened himself out. He says when you get to the point you're sick of jails and institutions and near-death experiences, quote, God will allow you to see things in a different light, and he has for me. Holy shit, don't find God.
No.
Please, the last thing you need is religion mixed in this. Yeah.
You're going to have to remember all that shit now.
That's more shit to remember. July 2009, he's on Real Sports with Brian Gumbel.
What?
We're talking about the Tijuana thing.
Yeah.
This is when he started coming out and doing interviews about the whole Super Bowl thing, so it was very interesting. He just got out of the halfway house. He just graduated his program and was in the halfway house.
Okay.
So he does that. February 2010, he's pulled over in Dallas and found in possession of a crack pipe with crack residue in it. You fucking idiot.
He has demoted himself to crack.
God damn it. He serves 146 days in jail in Texas for that. That's rough. January 2011, the lawsuit against the city starts. They go through the whole deal again. It's basically him saying they abused him. We'll get on to more crime. We don't need to know about that. Let's just say the lawsuit didn't go anywhere. He didn't win. Let's just say that.
Let's just say it was a lawsuit brought forth by a crackhead.
That's perfect. March 25th, 2011 is sentencing for all his probation violations. We have a judge here, Judge Darrell Trawick, who says, quote, you are a man who had been blessed with extraordinary athletic talent, but instead of using that athletic ability on the football field, you use it against a police officer. It's time we deal with this once and for all. You, sir, may fuck off. 5-year prison term for this now.
Oh, shit.
5 years.
After Bryant Gumbel?
For repeatedly violating his probation. I think the crack pipe was probably the extra thing. It's like, dude, you can't do drugs. You can't, especially not crack.
Right.
Barrett says, quote, I'm happy to have a resolution. He says, it's kind of a relief, to be honest with you. He says he's planning on writing his autobiography in prison, even though he says he's not much of a writer.
Yeah.
Spends 1.5 years in jail.
Yeah.
1.5 years in prison. He's inmate number M56276 at the Dade Correctional Institute in Florida City.
1.5 years of a 5-year stretch.
Yeah, he does that. He's sitting there. He's fucking, imagine how disheveled he is.
Trying so hard to write a book.
No shoes.
Every other page is just, I'm sorry I missed church. I'm sorry I missed church. I'll never miss church again.
He's disoriented and he looks up, and it's Dexter Manley, interior decorator from New York City. And he says, How is it you came to arrive here? What are you doing? Look at a crack pipe, really? Is that classy now?
I
Crack
like
pipes?
You
We're going to do that?
came in there.
Class? No, that's not classy. Look at the way you're dressed. This is not sexy, okay? I'm just going to tell you right now, I can help you with this. I can get you together, but maybe not while you're in prison.
Those tattoos have potential.
They can, but we could decorate them. We could bedazzle them a little. I have stones that you put on them that ladies like to put on their nails. Very, very nice. We'll work it out, but we get out of prison first, okay? I'll see you then.
Bedazzle your tattoos.
Poof! In a puff of purple glitter, he's gone. He's gone. And Barrett's really fucking confused then. He's like, did I just see that? I don't know, maybe. He probably sees that normally. So he's released on September 25th, 2012. Yeah. He does an interview. Yeah. Again, more fluff coming out.
Jesus.
He says he thinks about the Super Bowl all the time. He says he just hits himself in the head and says, damn, if I could have just done this or if I would have just done that.
So much Finkel as Einhorn going through his head.
So much. We have an in their own words on his recovery. In their own words, quote, relapse is a part of recovery, but you have to know that mentally. It's the same thing as losing a football game. You don't go into any football games, no matter who you are, thinking you're going to lose. But once you lose, it's about how you accept that. What would I have to live for if I was waiting for the next mistake? Fair enough. Yeah. So he's out of prison on September 25th, 2012. As he's being released, a CBS Miami affiliate news reporter comes up and asks him, hey, you're going to be able to stay off drugs now that you're free? And he says, in their own words, quote, I'm not worried about that, and that's not anybody's business but mine. That's something I'll deal with myself. You know what? Cancel this. Erase what you got. I don't want any part of this shit. Go, fuck you, he says. Get out of here. So summer of 2014, he's at a rehab program again in Ann Arbor, Michigan this time.
Change of scenery. That's nice.
That's nice. October 2014, fluff pieces. More fluff pieces.
Why?
He's back in the Bay Area helping out with a Special Olympics event at Dublin High, working with children and loving every minute of it. He says their spirit is amazing. When you deal with them and interact, they've got so many gifts. One of those is just appreciation for the smallest thing. He is super, super, super happy. He's psyched. Then after this, he starts discussing his concussions. After this too, not in this piece, but not with the kids. Right. He estimates he had at least 10 concussions from high school through the NFL.
10?
At least 10, I mean, and it might have been more. 10's a shitload.
That's a shade low.
That's what I mean. I don't think he remembered half of it.
If he played 10 plays in the NFL, he had 10 concussions.
Yep.
That's just what you get when you're the center.
He says he's just trying hard. He wants to be a father to his 15 and 13-year-old daughters. He says he's really doing really well. He's really happy where he is. He's so grateful. Everything is fantastic. Failed attempts to get clean were just part of his journey. Yeah. He says this is his summing everything up. In their own words, quote, it's a gradual process. When you've had as many treatments as I've been in, you carry what you learn from those treatments through the next period of using through your next treatment. I don't know what God's going to put in my life. Now I can see that my recovery is on very solid foundation. I'll start to consider doing things as far as a new career or whatever you want to call it, because I don't feel at this point I would be a liability. I could be a real major asset, maybe. Who knows? Who knows, Jimmy?
Did he just use that as a job interview?
He just said I could be an asset. Yeah. Let's find out what an asset he is.
I'm good now.
I am good now. Let's find out how good he is. August 12th, 2016, at the Best Western on Federal Highway in Boca Raton. Robbins lives in nearby Delray Beach. Basically, what happens is he may or may not have struck a person at a shopping center south of the hotel on Federal Highway. Police are called to a store after the report of an assault, but no witnesses came forward and no victims came forward. So the witnesses didn't want to speak and the victims didn't come forward, so they gave up. Yeah. So Robbins is also reported. They're like chasing down reports of these assaults. He's also reported attacking someone in a bar and outside of another bar down the street. Fuck? Then he wanders back to the hotel. Yeah. He's apparently staying at this hotel, too, for some reason, even though he lives down the street. He wanders back. He wanders through the lobby, and out of nowhere, he starts punching a mother and daughter multiple times in the head and body. No provocation, just starts blasting these two women for no reason. Rena Ronca and Gianna Ronca, they said that Robbins approached them quickly. They were just like looking up, like, oh, what's this guy doing? And then just started assaulting, just started wailing on them until they started screaming for help. Then they said once the police arrived, once he was done, he just sat down on a bench and waited for the cops. Like he wanted to go back in or something.
I think he's allergic to hotels.
It's what I think. Yeah, or he likes jail.
All his problems revolve around hotels.
A lot of times, too, these guys do these things where you're like, do you like jail? Because the same thing happened with Spellman. And it's like, I don't even think that's it. I just think he really doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And
he can't do it. He can't function unless he's got like the safety net of jail bars keeping him. He needs a cage.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He's a caged animal, and you open it up, and he fucking causes problems.
Constantly. He's a Sasquatch. Like we said, the report says attack took place in the presence of 2 other family members. The whole deal. It was nuts, man. They're from New York, these women, and they couldn't recall the number of times he struck them.
Wow.
That's how many, but they said it was a lot.
You lose track.
He just started wailing.
So many times.
Yes. He's taken into custody around 12:30 a.m. There was another guy who said that he hit him before he went and hit the women, and they don't know why he hit the women. They cuffed him before he was even charged. An arresting officer said, quote, due to his size and violent behavior, I placed him in handcuffs while I conducted my investigation. Holy shit. His wife I feel terrible for. I feel bad for the Raiders. I mean, think about all of these. Think about his poor daughters in and out.
The cops that got their asses kicked.
Had a face smushed and bashed into like a psychopath. They had to shoot him.
And he's still threatened.
Everybody he screwed over, all these people he tried to sue the city. He's punching innocent women. I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy, but not nearly as bad as I feel for Barret Robbins, a layup supervisor in Palestine, Illinois, in the aviation and aerospace industry.
What is that?
It's Flying S Inc. He works for.
What's a layup engineer?
I have no clue. It has something to do with a plane.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell that is here. He went to Eastern Illinois University, and also the poor folks over at Barret Robbins Limited. It's a management consulting firm in Australia. They do management consulting, and they have 1 to 10 employees.
Wow.
And people think they're run by a psychopath. Now, while he was doing this shit, the funniest thing about this whole assault on the women, not that that's funny, but the only funny thing is the Boca Raton officer in the occupation box on his arrest report, he wrote uncooperative. That's his occupation. Very uncooperative. I thought that was terrific.
That's the best fucking
he got a sense
job
of humor,
ever.
I gotta say. So he's being held in lieu of $50,000 bond on 2 counts of felony battery. He was taken to a mental health facility rather than jail, which is probably good. He was appointed a public defender because he can't pay for a lawyer. If you can't get enough of Barret Robbins, there is a site called thiscalifornia.com t-shirts. It has a whole bunch of t-shirts that have like your typical ones that you can put in. There's a Barret freaking Robbins t-shirt. There is a future Barret, Mrs. Barret Robbins t-shirt.
What?
There is an I Heart Barret Robbins t-shirt. There is a quote, when the boogeyman goes to sleep, he checks the closet for Barret Robbins t-shirt.
Christ.
And then, of course, the obligatory Barret Robbins for president t-shirt there. So if you can't...
President of what?
President of batshit is what that is. President of the fucking... of the
Narcotics Anonymous?
Of the... I don't even know.
President of the Fight Club.
President of the fruitcake. He is the guy standing on top. He is nuts as shit.
Good God.
Holy shit, that's Barret Robbins.
He's out or in jail now?
You don't know. Who knows?
He's just fucking out there somewhere.
He was at a mental health facility. That was last year, so I assume they probably released him at some point.
Still there.
He hasn't gotten arrested since then, so I don't know. Maybe he's on his meds now. I have a feeling the story's not over.
No.
And people are going to be sending us a lot of updates on this one.
This is going to get crazy.
This was one that was requested a lot because because of the whole Super Bowl thing.
Yeah,
and people just didn't know what the deal with him was. This is the deal with him. He's out there.
You got it
now. You got it. If you like that story, please get on iTunes. You can give us 5 stars on there. It would be wonderful. Tell us you're following instructions, following directions. That would be the most terrific thing you can do. Well, actually, there's one thing a little more terrific.
There is.
And that would be to go to patreon.com/CrimeInSports, where you can make a donation, or one-time donations can be made at PayPal through our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com.
Yes.
If you'd like to get a hold of us at the show, you can do that by going to Instagram or Twitter and going at Crime and Sports. It is facebook.com/CrimeInSports or crimeinsports@gmail.com. And we have a list of some of the most amazing goddamn people on earth that have been amazing to us this weekend. Jimmy, lay it on us.
These people, the amount of support, the people just reaching out to actually do something for us is really fantastic, and it's really nice. And this is a list of 3 pages of producers. Yet again, this last week there was 3 pages. This week there's 3 pages more. So strap in because this is fucking long, and I'm so thankful. We both are. This is what keeps us going.
Guys.
So thank you to Ann Wright, who upped her pledge, and Lauren King, who also upped her pledge. Bree Withenshaw, Autumn Lord, Courtney Harrow, or Heron. One of those. Susanna Diaz, Susanna Diaz, Marissa Jean Sawyer, Veronica Swift, Shania Dupree, Joe Copland, Natalie Calhoun, Mitchell Boker, Wowbae, Wow, W-O-W-B-A-E.
Yeah, that's
weird.
right.
It's fun. I enjoy it. Jody Wells, Kent D. Rowe, Isabella Briggs, James Okpo, Shannon Varner, Alice, Ashley Hathaway, Taylor Christensen, Anthony Derbyshire, Amy Underwood, Jerry Bunnell, and David Bunnell. Taylor Hunsaker upped her pledge.
Thank you.
Janelyn Prude, Greg Baxter, Penelope Osaguera, Byron Bell, Heather Cooper, Katie Meixner. Katie Mixner-Croft.
We'll take it.
James Ayers, he donated both on Patreon
Thank
and
you. That's
and
some effort right there. Wow, we
PayPal.
appreciate it.
He's going the extra mile. Thank you.
I would say.
Thanks, James. Sierra Timpson, Mary Howard, Sally Everett, Nilu Rafsanjani. That's a fucking great name.
That is a cool-ass
Amy
name.
Busby, Vanessa Brackett, Alice Lacey, Shane Sankey, Aline fucking hell. Every word gets tougher and tougher. Aline Nicolene Quernis Leon.
Yeah, really.
It's all wrong. I am so sorry, Aline.
That's a tough one.
That's fucking brutal.
She's had that mispronounced once or twice.
So
I'm gonna go out
many
and say.
times.
Go out
I'm
on a
so
limb.
sorry. Nicolene Quernis Leon. I don't know. Rebecca Manners, Jennifer Burke, Amy Johnson, Gail Hogston, Jessica Landgren donating so
Thank
much
you
so
so much,
frequently.
Jessica.
Thank you,
God,
Jess. You're the
keep
best.
us alive.
Sarah Pignotti, Ryan Kaloff. It's got to be it. Kristen Lucas, Chrissy Ann Castaldi, RC Bodies by Jake. He makes radio control bodies for cars, so thank you for that, Jake. Kathleen Jordan, James Ayers again, of course, Patel Huang, Jill Crosby, Rachel Sanderson, Kelly Bricka, Rick Decker, and last but not least, Kevin Gilroy. Thank you guys so much for helping.
God,
thank you guys for donating. Thank you guys
keep us
for
alive.
keeping this afloat.
Thank
it's
you
amazing.
guys. You guys are the producers, like
That's
we
true.
said. And Jimmy, what if these fine people wanted to get a hold of someone like, I don't know, you?
You
Where
may
would they
do that.
that?
At Wisman Sucks, WHISMAN Sucks on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. Follow along, play along. I really appreciate you guys doing this. It's fucking incredible.
And I am at Jimmy P is funny. And if you want to find me on Facebook, copy and paste my last name
Do
because
that.
you're not going to spell it right. So
You're
why
not.
bother? There's I's and A's and shit you don't know about
true.
in there. Do that. Get a hold of us and keep coming back week after week after week because got to say it once again for the 85th time live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey. Everyone out there should listen to Small Town Murder. You really should, mainly because you never know who's next door. And that's the point of this show, really. You never know who is next door. You never know what's going to happen on Small Town Murder. That's what makes it so wonderful. The only thing you do know is that people are going to die, and we're probably going to make jokes about it. That's it. That's all we can promise you. We dig into these towns. We see what makes them tick, from local legends to scandals they may have had. And, of course, the biggest scandals of all, horrible murders that take place there. And we put our, what I feel is a completely appropriate comedic spin on the whole thing. And you know you need a laugh right now. So get in there, listen to Small Town Murder, follow Small Town Murder on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Small Town Murder early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.